Chapter 12:24. That old bastard and that Lei Yunhe have also experienced a great increase in strength this time around. Impermanence Fairy shifted her gaze and saw Merciless West and Lei Yunhe once again. The place where they stood was filled with the power of soul fluctuations. A soul whirlpool had appeared, as if it could devour all life in the world. This was the soul force of a soul controller. Especially for powerful soul controllers like Shi Wuqing and Lei Yunhe, it was incomparably powerful and terrifying. It was far, far more profound than an ordinary person's. At the same time, the Yuan Qi fluctuations on Merciless West and Lei Yunhe were also very powerful and extraordinary. Impermanence Fairy could clearly sense that Merciless West's cultivation had risen from the 7th level of the Origin Emperor realm to the 8th level of the Origin Emperor realm. This made her eyelids twitch uncontrollably. Many years ago, Merciless West had always been weaker than Impermanence Fairy in terms of cultivation. Normally, there would be a difference of 3 or 4 levels. However, due to the fact that they were both soul controllers, their actual combat strength was about the same. Now, however, Impermanence Fairy was stuck at the peak of the 9th level of the Origin Emperor realm, while Merciless West was advancing triumphantly. After breaking through the barrier of the 8th level of the Origin Emperor realm, he continued to advance, as if he wanted to break through the 9th level of the Origin Emperor realm. As such, Impermanence Fairy, who originally had the advantage in cultivation, would probably not be able to gain any advantage over Merciless West. That old bastard, I don't know how he has been cultivating all these years to improve so quickly. Impermanence Fairy gritted her teeth, thinking that she had to figure out a way to suppress Merciless West. She did not know if that old bastard had been enlightened or what, but his cultivation was actually catching up to hers. What Impermanence Fairy did not know was that Merciless West's cultivation had really increased rapidly in the past year or so, after he met Su Yi. That kid! Suddenly, Impermanence Fairy's gaze shifted, completely attracted to Su Yi's location. This was because she could sense that Su Yi's entire body was exuding a peculiar aura. As the young man's cultivation method revolved, it actually fluctuated with a tyrannical power. At the same time, Su Yi's spiritual force was as vast as the sea, fluctuating crazily. 6th level of the Origin Void stage, 7th level of the Origin Void stage, 8th level of the Origin Void stage, 9th level of the Origin Void stage. Under the watchful eyes of Immortal Wuchang, Su Yi's cultivation base continued to climb. Waves of Yuan Qi surged out like a flood, breaking through the barriers again and again. Along with the passage of time, one could clearly sense that the might on the young man had finally stopped at the 9th level of the Origin Void stage before stabilizing. However, this was not the end. As another aura spread out, Su Yi's spiritual strength surged like a tide. The art of controlling heaven circulated in his body. The powerful spiritual strength was like a flood, setting off a terrifying spiritual storm. In the face of such spiritual strength, even an existence like Impermanence Fairy felt a little shocked. This was because she could faintly feel that Su Yi's spiritual strength seemed to be stronger than her spiritual strength. This was too terrifying. A young man at the Origin Void stage actually had spiritual strength that was more powerful than a martial artist at the peak of the 9th level of the Origin Monarch stage like her. Even if an ordinary soul controller had stepped into the Origin Monarch stage, it would still be very difficult for them to achieve this. This kid has unlimited potential, Impermanence Fairy said. She only felt that once Su Yi truly matured, he would definitely have the rhythm of soaring into the sky. She stopped thinking about it and stared blankly at Su Yi's spiritual strength that was surging crazily like a tide. Huff, huff, huff. The entire mysterious space was filled with boundless energy. Everywhere, in every place, there were figures with extremely powerful and peerless auras. This was a huge commotion. Many people were breaking through and improving together. The ferocious auras were intertwined together, forming a vast fluctuation. Invisibly, in the mysterious space, there was also an exceptionally domineering power that was emitted, forming an invisible connection with everyone. And the center of this connection was Su-yi. All the beast emperors received unimaginable benefit. Merciless West, Lei Yunhe, and the others also received boundless energy that washed through their bodies and souls. Not only did the Jade Tripod Alchemy sects attack not exterminate the Bawang sect, but it also gave them such a huge opportunity to break through. I wonder what those people would think if they knew about this in the Netherworld. Impermanence Fairy suddenly smiled as she thought of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect that was almost extinct. It was precisely the fierce battle with the two Origin Ancestor Realm experts that caused the Bawang sect and so many people to experience an unprecedentedly difficult struggle. Everyone fought until they were exhausted, seriously injured, and on the verge of death. And it was also because of this that Impermanence Fairy, Merciless West, Lei Yunhe, and many beast emperors were all able to break through on a large scale. That battle was a crisis, but once the crisis was over, it was an opportunity for everyone to succeed. The Bawang sect was undergoing a transformation. All of them had broken through, and their overall combat strength would definitely be even more terrifying from now on. And that little girl, she seems to be pretty good too. Near the medicinal field, there was an inconspicuous place where an exquisite figure was sitting cross-legged. It was Ji Hanua. Compared to the commotion caused by Su-yi, Merciless West, and many beast emperors, Ji Hanua's side seemed ordinary. This was because she was still only at the Yuan Zhen realm, and she was still far from the Yuan Su realm. But at this time, Impermanence Fairy also noticed her. There was a mysterious power flowing around Ji Hanua's body that made it impossible for people to see through it clearly. This mysterious power seemed to have some similarities with Su-yi's body, but there were also many differences, which made people very curious. However, as time passed, the mysterious power on Ji Hanua's body continued to circulate, becoming stronger and stronger. It fluctuated at a level that ordinary Yuan Zhen realm experts could not reach. Impermanence Fairy even discovered that even an early-stage Origin Void realm martial artist would find it difficult to compare with this power. From the looks of it, the mysterious power on Ji Hanua's body was definitely not simple. Unfortunately, Impermanence Fairy was unable to discern what kind of power it was. Chi-la-la, the changes in the space continued. The bodies of all the Bawang sect experts were still changing, and their power continued to increase. All of this slowly evolved until everyone had been in seclusion for exactly a month. Then, it began to slow down and stop. The first to awaken were the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, and the Black Turtle Emperor, followed by the Spirit Devouring Emperor. Chapter 12:25. Almost at the 7th level of the Demon Emperor realm. You guys are doing well. After opening his eyes, the Spirit-Devouring Emperor looked at the Purple Elephant Emperor and the other two. He raised his eyebrows and was surprised to find that the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhino Emperor had both reached the late 6th level of the Demon Emperor realm and were close to the peak. As for the Black Turtle Emperor, he was definitely at the peak of the 6th level of the Demon Emperor realm. The three of them were not far from the 7th level of the Demon Emperor realm. They had made great progress. After receiving the benefits from the mysterious space more than 3 months ago, the Purple Elephant Emperor and the Dragon Rhino Emperor had just stepped into the 5th level of the Demon Emperor realm, while the Black Turtle Emperor was at the late 5th level. This time, they had taken another huge step forward. It was extremely terrifying. However, when the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhino Emperor, and the Black Turtle Emperor sensed the fluctuation on the Spirit-Devouring Emperor, they could not help but widen their eyes at the same time. You 8th level of the Demon Emperor realm? The three Beast Emperors were dumbfounded. They originally thought that after this breakthrough, They would not dare to say that they could catch up with the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming, but they could at least catch up with the spirit-devouring Emperor's cultivation. However, at this moment, the short elder opposite them had broken through to the early 8th level of the Demon Emperor realm. This was too frightening. After all, the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming were almost at this level of cultivation. I can only feel a sense of superiority from you guys. Compared to the three of them, I'll definitely be devastated. The spirit-devouring Emperor laughed bitterly and unconsciously glanced in the direction of the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming. At this moment, the light fluctuation on the three of them gradually faded away. The illusory figures entrenched in the void also completely disappeared, revealing 3 human figures, 2 men and 1 woman. Chi-chi, when the 3 of them opened their eyes, 6 rays of golden light shot out from their pupils and pierced the void as if they were solid. Invisibly, the space seemed to be greatly affected and trembled. This is the spirit-devouring Emperor, the purple elephant Emperor, the dragon rhino Emperor, and the black turtle Emperor were all stunned. This power shocked them. Finally, I've reached LV9 of the Demon Royal Realm. This feels really good. A soft smile appeared on Yin Ming's enchanting face as she spoke in a somewhat lazy manner. It does feel good. I've never felt so powerful before. Yang Ming also smiled as the corners of his mouth curled up as he spoke. This strength is nothing. My most pressing goal right now is to reach the Demon Ancestor realm. Hearing the words of Yin Ming and Yang Ming, the Green Emperor nodded and then suddenly said in a deep voice. After exchanging blows with the Origin Ancestor powerhouse, Luo Yunyang had already realized that a powerhouse at that level could control the power of space and crush a monarch powerhouse. This was something that everyone yearned for. Whether it was the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, or Yin Ming, they all wanted to reach this realm. The 9th LV of the Demon Emperor realm was definitely not their final destination. The Spirit-Devouring Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the Mystic Turtle Emperor all smiled bitterly. It was not difficult for them to realize that the Green Emperor was already at the late stage of the LV9 Demon Royal Realm. Yang Ming and Yin Ming had also reached the early stage of the LV9 Demon Royal Realm and were close to the middle stage. In addition, Yang Ming and Yin Ming could combine to increase their strength exponentially. They did not know what kind of combat strength they could unleash if they combined at such a realm. This is too much of a blow, the Purple Elephant Emperor rubbed his forehead and said rather helplessly. Because they were late to follow Su-yi, the gap between the Beast Emperors couldn't be closed no matter how hard they tried. This was indeed something that made them feel melancholy. However, from their perspective, they had gained so many benefits in just a few months. This was something that they had not even dared to imagine in the past. Look, Lord Merciless West and the others have also awakened. Suddenly, the Green Emperor pointed in the direction of Merciless West. Not too far away was the Thundercloud Crane. The power around the 2 of them receded like flowing water and quickly dissipated. The vast soul fluctuations also slowly disappeared. Huff! Shi Wuqing opened his eyes. 2 beams of fiery light shot out from his eyes and extended several meters. Thundercloud Crane's eyes were also suffused with lightning, which struck the void and caused a storm. 9th level of the Origin Emperor realm. This time I have gained quite a lot. The corner of Shi Wuqing's mouth curled into a smile as he muttered to himself. I am also at the 9th level of the Origin Emperor realm. In the distance, Thundercloud Crane was also smiling, but his smiling face looked a little scary. The aura of the 2 of them was released, and the aura of an emperor filled the air. Endless wind and thunder surrounded them, which was very terrifying. The Green Emperor and the rest of the Beast Emperors were surprised again. Merciless West and Thundercloud Crane had both broken through to the 9th level of the Origin Emperor realm. It was not difficult for him to imagine that with the special means of a soul controller, the two of them were probably much stronger than him in terms of actual combat strength. It was especially so for Merciless West. He was originally an extremely powerful soul controller, and his heaven-grade soul was much stronger than Thundercloud Crane when their cultivation levels were similar. When Merciless West was at the 7th level of the Origin Emperor realm, he could already fight with Hong Qianlong, who was half a step away from the Origin Ancestor realm. It was unknown if he could fight against a real Origin Ancestor realm existence now. Sizzle! At this moment, the surrounding space vibrated again. The sky in the mysterious space suddenly darkened, and the wind and clouds surged as lightning flashed. Not only that, but a powerful fiend god chi suddenly rolled out and spread out in the void, releasing a domineering aura that fiercely pressed down on the souls of all those who had awakened. That is, Merciless West, Thundercloud Crane, the Green Emperor, and the rest all opened their eyes wide as they watched the scene unfold. It's Little Handsome. When he sensed the source of the energy, Merciless West was shocked. From the boundless divine demon aura, he could clearly sense an aura similar to Little Handsome Sue's. When Merciless West sensed this scene, the huge shadow of the phoenix above Little Handsome Sue suddenly descended and merged with his small body. A clear phoenix cry reverberated, and its majestic aura swept out in all directions. Everyone watched as Su Xiaoshui flapped his wings and soared into the sky. Boundless five-colored light enveloped him, making him look like a supreme being of the demon clan. He's at the 7th level of the Demon Emperor realm. This little guy's improvement is too terrifying. Shi Wuqing opened his mouth in a daze. He had long known that Little Handsome Su was extraordinary, but he was clearly only at the 2nd level of the Demon Emperor realm. How did he break through to the 6th level in such a short time? Chapter 12:26. At this moment, Handsome Su was in midair, and a monstrous aura spread out from his body. This aura was not targeted at the beast emperors, but it made their bodies tremble, and they almost fell to the ground. Even the Green Emperor, Yang Ming and Yin Ming, who had the highest cultivation, felt their legs tremble and their hearts tremble. This was the power of a supreme being. As one of the most supreme demon tribes, Handsome Su's aura brought a strong sense of oppression to all the barbaric demonic beasts. Under everyone's gaze, Su Xiaoshui let out a crisp cry of a phoenix, which reverberated in the mysterious space. It resonated with some kind of invisible mysterious power of space, and the entire space exuded a unique charm. Then, the 7-colored phoenix slowly descended, and the light gradually dimmed. It was no longer as dazzling as before. After a while, all the magnificence on Handsome Su's body disappeared, and he returned to his normal state. He looked very ordinary. Have they all broken through? Soon, Handsome Su noticed everyone's gaze, and he flew over and landed on Merciless West's shoulder. He also realized that everyone in the mysterious space had made a huge breakthrough. Moreover, Merciless West, Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, and Lei Yunhe were all at the 9th stage of the Martial Emperor realm, and they were even more powerful than him. In addition, Impermanence Fairy's cultivation had improved greatly, and she was even more powerful than before. Compared to you, little guy, our breakthroughs are really... Everyone smiled bitterly and looked at Handsome Su, speechless. This little guy's talent was too outstanding. If they were compared to him, they would not be able to live anymore. Boss is awake too. He also made a lot of breakthroughs. Looking at everyone's reaction, Handsome Su couldn't help but chuckle. Then, he looked at Sui. At this moment, the young man's body was full of energy, and his power was rolling. He was as bright as a rainbow, and he was incomparably ferocious, as if he was about to explode. Endless energy was brewing, as if he was about to break through some kind of shackle. However, this kind of energy was firmly suppressed. As time passed, all the might on Su Yi's body also converged and disappeared, no longer existing. Everything receded like flowing water. Whether it was Yuan Qi fluctuations or soul strength, they all dissipated in the end. Swish, Su Yi opened his eyes and saw a large group of people staring at him as if he was a monkey. They were like the visitors to the zoo in his previous life. "Why are you all looking at me like that?" Su Yi rubbed his nose. He had a strange feeling in his heart. "Kid, you're about to reach the Origin Emperor realm?" Impermanence Fairy walked in front of Su Yi and looked him up and down. She clicked her tongue and praised. She was no longer shocked. What she had seen today had already made her numb. Moreover, Su Yi breaking through all the way to the 9th level of the Origin Void stage was something she'd witnessed with her own 2 eyes. However, Immortal Wuchang instinctively wanted to confirm this with Su Yi, and Wu Qing and the other Beast Emperors all looked at Su Yi. "I'm still a little bit away from the Origin Emperor realm. I'll probably need some more time before I can truly break through." Su Yi did not hide anything and said as such. His cultivation soared all the way from the 6th level of the Origin Void stage to the later stage of the 9th level of the Origin Void stage. This was a huge leap. In fact, Su Yi also had the opportunity to attempt to break through to the true Origin Emperor realm. However, he suppressed this trend in the end and stabilized his cultivation at the 9th level of the Origin Void stage. "Good kid, you're not greedy and know how to restrain yourself. Very good." Merciless West looked at the young man in front of her and said with a smile. Everyone had seen Su Yi's previous performance. The hope of breaking through to the Origin Emperor realm was right in front of him, but Su Yi was able to resist this temptation. This was something very difficult to do. However, this would allow his foundation to be even more solid. "Big brother, I know what I'm doing," Su Yi said with a smile. Soon after, he saw the situation of the people around him. He was stunned and did not move for a long time. He was extremely shocked. They've all improved so much. This, before going into closed-door cultivation, Su Yi did not dare to imagine that everyone had improved so much this time. Other than Impermanence Fairy, who was at the 9th level of the Origin Emperor realm, and could not break through on a large scale, the rest of them had all broken through 1 to 2 levels. As for Handsome Su, he had broken through 6 levels in one go, from the 2nd level of the Demon Emperor realm to the 8th level of the Demon Emperor realm. This kind of leap was too frightening. It was much more exaggerated than Su Yi's breakthrough. After all, he was only at the Origin Void stage, while Handsome Su was at the Demon Emperor realm. "I'm inferior to a bird." Su Yi smiled bitterly. Originally, he saw that the distance between him and this little fellow was getting closer and closer. Now it was still so huge. The difference was almost an entire realm. Of course, Su Yi knew that Handsome Su's breakthrough speed was related to his bloodline. In the battle with the Jade Tripod Alchemy clan this time, everyone consumed a lot of energy. In addition, there was a drastic change in your space. Everyone obtained benefits from here, so they were able to advance by leaps and bounds. Merciless West looked at Su Yi and said with a sigh. Su Yi nodded when he heard that. He knew that what his big brother said was very reasonable. Battle was an extremely good training. It could prove oneself. In a desperate situation, one could see many of his shortcomings. Moreover, the great consumption of strength was also a baptism of the body and soul. During this period of time, his big brother, Merciless West, had been controlling the Li-Fire Mystic Yang realm in the mind to fight against the Third Elder, Lei Yunhe, and the others. Then, he rushed to the vicinity of the Jade Tripod Alchemy clan and set up another illusory soul world. A few days later, he rushed over from the mine and entered the mysterious space to refine a large number of soul-controlling killing talismans. During this period, he even swallowed the last Essence Soul Purple Fire pill. In the end, the 2 Essence Grandmasters of the Jade Tripod Alchemy clan arrived. With his big brother as the leader, they took charge of the Fire Mystic Yang realm. It could be said that his big brother, Merciless West, had been overdrawing his soul power time and time again recently. After the Fire Mystic Yang realm was broken, it could be said that he had reached the point of exhaustion and no longer had any power to use. Under such circumstances, he entered the mysterious space and encountered Su-Yi devouring the power of the essence stones in the mine. The space changed drastically, and at the same time, he obtained huge benefits. Therefore, it was not hard to imagine that Merciless West had broken through to the 9th level of the Essence Emperor realm. As for Handsome Su, it was even more so. His last attack had shot down Lu Yinghong, who was on the verge of death. It had also consumed a lot of his strength. As long as he did not die, Handsome Su would be able to awaken more bloodline talents and improve his cultivation greatly. The overall strength of our Boang sect is getting stronger and stronger. Sweeping his gaze across the surrounding people, Su-Yi's heart was filled with unconcealable excitement. He unconsciously clenched his fists. His big brother, Merciless West, Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming were the strongest combat strength of the Bawang sect. Chapter 12:27. In this way, the overall strength of the Bawang sect would definitely increase by leaps and bounds compared to before. If they used such a powerful lineup to face the 2 Origin Ancestor realm experts of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect, they would definitely not need to fight to such a tragic end. The Bawang sect is already starting to look like it. Merciless West also laughed, feeling extremely happy in her heart. The Bawang sect already had the embryonic form of a powerful force. Its powerful combat strength was not inferior to an ordinary second-rate force, and it was not too far away from a force like the Heavenly Dipper sect. In addition, Nangong Ningyue, Huang Jian, and the others had also recruited many ordinary disciples. It could be said that the Bawang sect was already starting to look like it. The Bawang sect will become more and more powerful. All of us will become the most powerful experts in this world. One day, the 10 great forces of the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea will not be able to ignore us. Su-Yi's eyes flickered as he said in a deep voice. The Bawang sect was becoming more and more powerful, but this was not the end. It was just the beginning. They would continue to increase their strength and rise in the Chaos region. And Su-Yi would one day step onto the holy mountain and wipe out the humiliation of the past. Boss, we still have to find second brother and third brother. We brothers will go and settle the debt of the holy mountain together. Su Xiaoshui stood on Su-Yi's shoulder and whispered into his ear. Not just second brother and third brother, but also Su Tianke. Su-Yi's expression turned serious as he said word by word, "We must break through the holy mountain's gate and settle the grudges of the past one by one." His eyes were filled with boundless light, and his entire body emitted an evil aura that fluctuated in the void. For a moment, everyone in the mysterious space was affected by this aura, and their hearts surged with boiling blood. Merciless West, Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and the others all unconsciously stood around Su-Yi. Their eyes were all filled with ferocity. Everyone has been in seclusion for so long. It's time to go out. The people from the Blue Cloud Hall are still waiting outside. After a long while, Su-Yi's aura slowly dissipated as he spoke softly. Everyone nodded. They had been in seclusion for almost a month and had gained a lot this time. It was time to go out. Lady Han Nu-Ah should be waking up soon, right? Su-Yi took one last look at Ji Han-Nu-Ah, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground. The young girl's body was still wrapped in a water-attributed green light. Moreover, with Su-Yi's strength, he was able to detect a unique and mysterious energy flowing within her body. This energy was extremely strange and unusual. Su-Yi didn't know how long it would take for Ji Han-Nu-Ah to wake up, but it shouldn't take more than a few days. The group walked out of the mysterious space. Not long after, they all gathered in the main hall of the Bawang sect. Xie Wushu and the others from the Blue Cloud Hall, as well as Elder Tang, had also received news that Su Yi and the others had come out of seclusion. In addition, Ji Tianfu, Lin Zhenyang, Huang Jian, Wang Zhengquan, and the others had also entered the main hall. "Kid, you're finally willing to come out." After seeing Su Yi, Xie Wushu immediately spread his hands helplessly and said, they had waited for an entire month this time. This was something that they hadn't expected at the beginning. "Thank you, everyone. I'm very grateful." Su Yi bowed to the people from the Blue Cloud Hall and Elder Tang as he spoke sincerely. At this moment, Su Yi could not help but feel a little touched. These people had really guarded the Overlord sect for a month. Among them, there were a total of 3 Yuan Zong realm experts guarding the pass for them. This was probably something that ordinary people would not be able to accomplish. It doesn't matter whether you're grateful or not. "Kid, why don't you join the Blue Cloud Hall? As long as you agree, the position of young master of the Blue Cloud Hall can be directly given to you." At this time, another origin ancestor from the Blue Cloud Hall, whose surname was Zhong, suddenly chuckled as he looked at Su Yi. Hearing this, Xie Wushu and Tang Wang immediately pricked up their ears, wanting to hear Su Yi's thoughts. The other people from the Blue Cloud Hall were all stunned on the spot. Ji Tianfu, Lin Zhenyang, and the others were the same. The young master of the Blue Cloud Hall meant that he had the greatest possibility of succeeding the position of Hall Master in the future. This was the position of Hall Master of a first-rate force. Since they had even stated such a condition, it was obvious that the Blue Cloud Hall really wanted to rope in Su Yi and thought highly of him. Su Yi was also stunned for a moment. Obviously, he hadn't expected Elder Zhong to say such a thing. However, he still shook his head and said, "I appreciate the Blue Cloud Hall's good intentions. However, I've always been used to being free and undisciplined. I don't like to live a restrained life. In addition, the Bawang sect also needs my guidance. There's no way he can join the Blue Cloud Hall." As soon as he said this, the light in Elder Xie's bright eyes slowly dimmed. He had expected this outcome, but when he heard Su Yi say it, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. It would be a great loss if they couldn't rope in such an outstanding genius to the Blue Cloud Hall. "Kid, you're not a fish in a pond. It's reasonable for you to want to walk your own path." Xie Wushu nodded, knowing that his attempt to rope in had been rejected. He then said, "This old man also wants to see how far you and your Bawang sect can go in the end." His gaze swept over Merciless West and the others, deep shock in his eyes. With his cultivation, it wasn't difficult for him to notice that Merciless West, Green Emperor, Su Xiaoshui, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, and all the other members of the Bawang sect had greatly improved their cultivation after a month of seclusion. This kind of improvement was terrifying. If this news were to spread, it would definitely cause a commotion. Elder Xie didn't bat an eyelid. He suppressed the shock in his heart. The great change in the Bawang sect was bound to cause a change in the overall situation of the Chaos Realm. He just didn't know if it would affect the 3 first-rate forces in the future. "Elder Xie, Elder Tang, Elder Zhong, you've all stayed in the Bawang sect for so long. I didn't treat you well. I'm very sorry." Su Yi apologized again and said, "I won't say too many words of gratitude. However, I'll remember everything that happened recently. It doesn't matter whether you're grateful or not. What this old man said was right. You just have to repay us in the future." Tang Wang stared at Su Yi and suddenly said softly, looking extremely serious. Su Yi once again felt helpless and didn't know how to respond. He only felt that Elder Tang, Elder Xie and the other old fellows weren't as old-fashioned as they seemed on the surface. They actually knew how to mock him. "Haha! Old man, don't make fun of this little guy." Elder Xie laughed heartily as he looked at Su Yi. After all, they were experts of the older generation who had lived for many years. They couldn't really expect Su Yi to repay them. Chapter 12:28. However, since Su Yi had already rejected the offer, Elder Xie, Elder Tang and the rest could not force him to do anything. Honestly speaking, their actions were just icing on the cake. At the critical juncture of the Overlord sect, they had only contributed a little bit of strength and did not make any big move. Since all of you have come out of your seclusion, I will not stay in the Bawang sect any longer. It is time to return to the 9-Star Valley. Tang Wang withdrew his mocking expression and spoke once again. That's right. A month has passed and it is time for us to return to the Blue Cloud Hall. Elder Xie added. Upon hearing this, Su Yi could not help but frown slightly. He looked at Elder Tang and asked, Elder Tang, will there be any trouble with you taking action? He still remembered that during the battle a month ago, the 9-Star Valley had sent 2 other Yuan Zong experts to capture him. They had said that they had received orders from the Valley Master. It was Elder Tang who had stepped forward to protect him that the 2 men had let him go. However, Elder Tang had promised that he would shoulder all the responsibility. A month had passed and Elder Tang was still quietly waiting in the Bawang sect. Suemo wondered if the 9-Star Valley's Valley Master would be unhappy. You don't have to worry about this. I still have some say in the 9-Star Valley. Tang Wang stared at Su Yi and softly said. He felt a little comforted. This kid was not a heartless person, and he still knew how to worry about him. That's for the best. Su Yi nodded. He was not clear about the situation in the 9-Star Valley. However, since Elder Tang had said so, he must have a certain level of confidence. However, Su Yi still remembered this matter in his heart. He was absolutely grateful to Elder Tang, but he did not have a good impression of the 9-Star Valley. In the future, it would be fine if the 9-Star Valley did not provoke him. On account of Elder Tang, Su Yi would not take the initiative to become enemies with them. However, if they became enemies, Su Yi would definitely not show mercy. Brat, you just came out of seclusion. Let me tell you another piece of news. Suddenly, Elder Xie stroked his beard, looked at Su Yi and said, Recently, a new secret territory has appeared. Its location is uncertain. First, it appeared in the northwest of the Chaos Realm. Then, it moved to the north. It is very likely to be an extraordinary secret territory. Once it appears, it will definitely cause a great disturbance. Our 3 first-rate forces have already sent people to investigate, hoping to find the traces and solve the mystery. Since you've come out of seclusion this time, this old man also needs to leave immediately and rush over to investigate the situation. Don't worry, the Blood Sun sect's attention should be focused on the secret realm right now. They won't have the time to deal with the Bawang sect. Secret realm. Su Yi, Merciless West, Handsome Su, and the others were all shocked. Their hearts throbbed, and they didn't hear Elder Xie's last words at all. This was a new mystic realm. This was no ordinary place. For example, Su Yi had entered the battlefield of 10,000 swords at the Xinjian Gate, the sacred martial secret realm in the Middle Province, and the secret realm of ominous spirits in the Chaos Realm. These were all secret territories that had been excavated in the early years. No one knew how many times they had been explored, but they were still able to obtain a lot of benefits from them. Now, according to Elder Xie, there was a new secret territory that had appeared. If it was true, there would definitely be countless treasures and opportunities in it. How could they not be shocked? There must be a lot of treasures in there, and countless spiritual herbs. Handsome Su's eyes sparkled as he spoke. As he spoke, his saliva dripped down. You only know how to eat. Su Yi flicked his finger on Handsome Su's head and said with a roll of his eyes. However, Su Yi's eyes were also shining. He really wanted to know more about the secret territory. For such benefits, the Bawang sect definitely couldn't fall behind others. If there was a chance, they would definitely go and explore it. Little guy, it's better for the Bawang sect to stay put for now. When he saw Su Yi and the rest's expressions, Elder Xie continued, Currently, the three great first-rate factions have all moved out to explore the area. The remaining second-rate factions have also sent people to investigate the situation. However, they have yet to find a way to break the seal. Everything still needs time. For the Bawang sect, it's better not to get involved in this mess. Once you appear, the Blood Sun sect and the Tiangang sect will definitely take the opportunity to deal with you. Sui nodded. Elder Xie's words were true. Several hostile forces had now sent a large number of experts. Once the Bawang sect went there, it was very likely that they would be attacked. We definitely can't hide. The Blood Sun sect will have to face them sooner or later. After a moment, Sui said softly, but Elder Xie is right. At this time, the Bawang sect doesn't need to get involved. It won't be too late to talk about it after the secret territory has truly appeared. Elder Xie nodded and said with a smile, the Bawang sect can wait for now. Perhaps after the secret territory has been broken, this old man should be able to fight for one or two places for the Bawang sect to enter with the people of my Ash Cloud Hall. The experts of the Ash Cloud Hall all fell into silence. This Elder Xie really valued Sui. He actually made such a promise. Of course, all of this was based on the premise that the secret territory had truly been broken. Thank you, Elder Xie. Sui cupped his fists and said firmly, however, the Bawang sect won't wait forever. I will fight for a place to enter the secret territory myself. As he spoke, his entire body was filled with a domineering aura, causing Elder Xie, Elder Tang, and the others to be a little stunned. Haha, good. Elder Xie laughed loudly again and said, then we won't stay any longer. This old man will wait for you outside the secret territory. After saying that, he didn't waste any more words and directly led the people of the Ash Cloud Hall out of the hall. Let's go. Elder Tang also waved his hand and quickly rushed into the void. After a moment, he disappeared. Seeing these people leave so decisively, Sui stood outside the hall and looked at the sky. His mind was in turmoil. This time, another secret territory had appeared. This was an accident, and Sui was very interested. However, he was also very clear about one thing. The three great first-rate forces of the Chaos Realm and the remaining 6 great second-rate forces would definitely treat such an existence as their own private property. Now that a total of 9 great forces had joined forces, they probably had enough strength to firmly control a secret territory. In that case, they definitely wouldn't easily let outsiders enter. However, Sui also understood that a huge piece of fat meat would be wanted by everyone. Therefore, the 9 great forces were also facing unimaginable pressure. This would be the Bawang sect's opportunity. If possible, of course, the more people who enter the secret territory, the better. Chapter 12:29. Kid, do you have any plans? Merciless West walked to Suyi's side and asked him. This matter hasn't come to a conclusion yet, so there's no rush. However, a mystic realm has appeared. If our Bawang sect has the chance, we still need to explore it, Sui said. That's for sure. However, we do have to be wary of the Blood Sun sect. That Baizun isn't a good person. He will definitely not give up on his evil intentions. Merciless West thought for a moment and said, there's no need to worry about that. Baizun's real target is me alone. If I go to the Mystic Realm, the Blood Sun sect won't target the Bawang sect. At that time, we'll see if they have the ability to deal with me, Sui said in a deep voice. This Blood Sun sect must know how powerful I am in the future. Beside him, Su Xiaoshui took over the conversation and said with a deep gaze, if it weren't for the Blue Cloud Hall and Elder Tang, we would be in big trouble this time. The Blood Sun sect will definitely pay the price for this in the future. Green Emperor's eyes shot out a cold light as he said in a gloomy voice. In addition, Merciless West, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, and the Spirit-Devouring Emperor also had cold expressions. Everyone's bodies were bursting with killing intent. Before the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect really arrived, everyone in the Bawang sect could expect that this would be a difficult battle. However, no one had expected that it would completely alarm the three first-rate forces. In addition, second-rate forces such as the Xianin sect and the Tiangang sect had also rushed over. Most importantly, after Su Xiaoshui and Su Yi completely killed Lu Yinghong and Luo Qing, the two Origin Grandmasters, Baizun wanted to attack Su Yi and bring him to the Blood Sun sect. If it weren't for the several experts of the Blue Cloud Hall and Elder Tang speaking up for Su Yi, it would have been easy for the Blood Sun sect to take Su Yi away with their strength. In addition, there were also two experts from the Nine Stars Valley hiding in the dark. If Elder Tang hadn't discovered it in time, Su Yi would definitely have been captured. Therefore, at this moment, everyone was hostile to the Blood Sun sect. Sooner or later, they would have to pay for this joke. Moreover, everyone didn't have a good impression of the Nine Stars Valley. Of course, Elder Tang. Everyone, recuperate and conserve your energy for the next few days. That mystic realm might open at any time. We must be prepared. Sui looked at the crowd and said. After that, everyone dispersed from the hall and went to do their own things. Second brother, third brother, where are you guys now? And when he was alone, Sui couldn't help but think of those closest to him. Second brother Su Chen and third brother Yen Lin had been separated for nearly a year. He didn't know where they were now. There was also Su Tianke. After the battle in the Savage Demon Forest, there was still no news of the bald turkey. This was what Su Yi was most worried about. In addition, Old Master Su Yuntian and the rest of the Su family had been taken away by the Yutian Palace. He didn't know how they were doing. If there was time, Su Yi felt that it was necessary to make a trip to the Yutian Palace to see the situation. Su Yi thought of the Kanglan city in the Savage Demon Forest. The people from the Tian Yao school were still there, living under the protection of Akatsuki. In addition, he didn't know how strong the Hell Rat, Golden Python, White Jade Mystic Bird, Fiery-Eyed Barbaric Tiger, and other savage beasts were now. The agreement between Su Yi and Akatsuki was 5 years. There were still more than 3 years left. However, the Bawang sect wasn't strong enough yet, so it wasn't time to bring Ouyang Shiwei and the others over. Tian Yao School was different from the Bawang sect. Once such news was leaked out, the 10 great forces of the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea would be alarmed at the same time. The several sects that had attacked back then would definitely come together. This matter was of great importance. Sui had to deal with it carefully. Everything would have to wait until the Bawang sect was truly powerful in the future. The Jade Tripod Alchemy sect is almost destroyed. I wonder how their territory is doing. A second-rate force must have unimaginable benefits. Su Yi suddenly thought of this matter, and couldn't help but find Nangong Ningyue to ask about the situation. Sect Master, I've sent people to investigate this matter. The remaining few origin emperors of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect fled, taking away most of their foundation. For the time being, we don't know where they are. As for the remaining benefits, they were divided up by the various major forces. Many of the territories and cities fell into the hands of the second-rate forces like the Dark Een sect and the Crimson Sun sect, Nangong Ningyue said. They were all divided up by others. What a pity! Sui couldn't help but smack his lips and feel that it was a pity. If the foundation of a second-rate force could fall into the hands of the Bawang sect, it would definitely be a huge fortune. Unfortunately, everyone in the Bawang sect was seriously injured at that time and didn't have the ability to take such benefits. They could only watch helplessly as these benefits fell into the hands of others. We didn't get the benefits of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. However, there were barbaric beasts that searched the Green Sanctuary sect and brought back some things. Nangong Ningyue took out a space bag and handed it to Su Yi. After destroying the Green Sanctuary sect, Su-yi and the others immediately returned to the mine and didn't plunder it. However, the large number of barbaric beasts that came later didn't let go of the benefits there. They searched the entire Green Sanctuary sect inside and out. Later on, Su-yi was busy, so these treasures were handed over to Nangong Ningyue for safekeeping. The foundation of a third-rate force isn't bad. Su-yi opened the space bag and saw a lot of prenatal stones and spiritual herbs, but their grades weren't high. Other than that, there were some spirit weapons, including 2 decent Dao artifacts, a saber and a sword. I'll give these 2 magic weapons to Elder Huang and Elder Wang. I'll leave the rest of the weapons to you for safekeeping. You can distribute them freely to increase the combat strength of the disciples of the Bawang sect. In addition, all the prenatal stones will be handed over to Elder Wang. If anyone needs to use them, they can withdraw them from him. Su-yi took out a saber and a sword, then threw the space bag to Nangong Ningyue and said, "Yes, sect master." Nangong Ningyue said respectfully and bowed. She was pleasantly surprised. One had to know that the things in the space bag were equivalent to half of the foundation of the Green Sanctuary sect. It was equivalent to the entire wealth of a weak third-rate force. With so many things being controlled by her, it could be seen that Su-yi trusted her a lot. At this moment, Nangong Ningyue couldn't help but rejoice. After being saved by Su-yi, she didn't hesitate to choose to believe in this young man and join the Bawang sect that she had never heard of. Now that she thought about it, such a decision couldn't be more correct. The development speed of the Bawang sect far exceeded Nangong Ningyue's expectations. 3 days later, gather all the powerhouses of the Bawang sect above the Origin Void stage in the main hall. I have something important to announce. Chapter 1230. Nangong Ningyue's expression turned serious when she heard this. When she saw Su-yi's serious appearance, she knew that the announcement this time was definitely not small. "Yes, sect leader," she immediately responded. Su-yi didn't say anything else and waved his hand to let Nangong Ningyue leave the main hall. There were many things in the Bawang sect that needed to be perfected step by step. Su-yi already had some plans in his heart, but he still needed to slowly implement them. Strength. In this world, strength is everything. Su-yi suddenly felt an enormous pressure on his shoulders. The rise of the Bawang sect caused his confidence to multiply, but at the same time, it also caused him to feel that he was shouldering a great responsibility. In addition, Su-yi felt that his strength was still very insignificant. Even though he wasn't even 18 years old, but he was imperceptibly enduring pressure that countless people of the same age couldn't endure. The enemies he had to face were all extremely powerful, and he had to quickly grow in order to be able to contend with his opponent. Origin Monarch stage, the true breakthrough shouldn't be too far away. Su-yi's eyes suddenly sank as he muttered to himself. In the mysterious space, he completely broke through to the 9th level of the Origin Void stage and forcefully suppressed the strength of his breakthrough. Otherwise, he could indeed attempt to charge into the Origin Monarch stage. However, Su-yi knew that it wouldn't be beneficial to him, so he stopped in time. There are still over a dozen Origin Yang Heavenly Bones left. I wonder what kind of changes it will bring after it's completely refined. Su-yi muttered to himself. He had already refined the Origin Yang Heavenly Bone to the 5th level of the Chaotic Origin Demon Body to the final stage. Along with the transformation of every bone in his body, he faintly felt that a huge transformation was about to occur in his body. However, he was unable to truly determine what kind of transformation it would be. Su-yi was looking forward to it very much. Perhaps, the day the Origin Yang Heavenly Bone was refined would also be the opportunity to break through to the Origin Monarch stage. Time can't be wasted. It's better to go cultivate. Su-yi didn't stay in the main hall for long. Instead, he went to the back of the mountain and called for a few barbaric beasts to protect him. He entered the cave, opened up the mysterious space, and began to cultivate. Ji Hanua hadn't woken up yet. Her body was still emitting a mysterious aura. Sui felt that this aura was very familiar. It carried a unique aura of the demon race and was very powerful. However, he could only wait for Ji Hanua to wake up to find out what it was. My cultivation has just broken through not too long ago. It's time for me to practice my martial arts. Sui softly murmured in the space. He went to a very deep location in order to avoid disturbing Ji Hanua. Presently, he'd just broken through to the 9th level of the Origin Void stage, and it would be extremely difficult for him to have much progress even if he worked hard on his origin energy. Now was the most suitable time for him to cultivate martial skills. Wrath of the 8 Desolates, 9 Absolutes shake the universe. Su Yi's eyes flashed, and an overbearing aura erupted from his body. Subsequently, his body directly soared into the sky and flew high up into the sky. A footprint was fiercely kicked out by him, and it emitted a terrifying rumble in the sky. It was like a mountain smashing into a lake, and the sound waves surged into the sky. However, at the instant this footprint appeared, another even more vast footprint exploded with light and smashed into the void. It was as if it kicked some sort of invisible vein in space, and it caused a terrifying tremor. Instantly, the 2 footprints overlapped together, and it surged out with an even more terrifying momentum. But all of this was just the beginning. Numerous footprints stomped down in succession, and the momentum became more and more vast. When the 6th footprint descended, it was already several tens of times stronger than the first footprint. It was as if it could split the heavens and earth apart, and it was extremely shocking. When these 6 footprints all condensed together, it caused the heavens and earth to tremble and the sky to explode. Bang! 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 The 7th, 8th, and 9th footprints followed closely behind, and their might increased even more. However, when the 7th footprint started, the energy in front had already started to dissipate, and the last 3 footprints weren't able to overlap with the previous 6 footprints. There's still a lot to go. Again. Sui muttered to himself lightly. He knew that this was because his cultivation wasn't up to par. In fact, the cultivation method of the 3rd move of Rage of the 8 Desolation stated that the true might of this move normally required one to attain the Origin Monarch stage before being able to exert it. It was practically extremely difficult to cultivate it successfully at the Origin Void stage. Even if Su Yi's chaotic origin demon body was cultivated to the 5th level, it was still extremely difficult to accomplish. The facts were indeed so. Su Yi felt that even though his cultivation had broken through to the 9th level of the Origin Void stage now, he still felt extremely strenuous when continuously executing it. Each of the 9 footprints was stronger than the previous, and their might increased explosively by multiple times. However, it was extremely difficult to stack them together, and the final objective of this move was to cause the 9 footprints to overlap, thus instantly erupting with a might that was a few hundred times stronger than the first. Su Yi was able to imagine that if this move was truly cultivated to completion, its might would absolutely be shocking. Bang! 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 His mind was clear of distracting thoughts as he stomped out footprints after footprints in the sky, and the fatal and mysterious space emitted waves of tremors with an extremely vast impetus. Time slowly passed by, and unknowingly, a day had passed. During this day, Su Yi practically didn't rest, and he'd always been immersed in the cultivation of the 3rd move of Rage of the 8 Desolation. During this period of time, he didn't know how many times he'd kicked out, and every single kick was with his full strength. Huff, huff. Su Yi's forehead was covered in sweat as he bent down and gasped heavily for breath. The sweat on his face rolled down and dripped onto the ground before smashing into powder. The clothes on his body were completely soaked from the inside out. I can kick out 7 times at the same time now, but the last 2 kicks are still lacking. Su-yi lightly muttered to himself as he recalled the process of his cultivation. At the same time, he referred to the cultivation method in his mind to verify with each other, as he wanted to see where he'd done it imperfectly. He was extremely clear that the trick of this 9 extinction universe shaker was that the 9 footprints were kicked out at practically the same time, and only then could the might be stacked and erupt with a might that was a few hundred times stronger. If not, kicking out 1 foot at a time would still be very powerful, but ultimately it was still too weak. After a day of non-stop cultivation, Su-yi became more and more proficient in it. From the beginning, he could kick out 6 times at once, and now he could kick out 7 times, stacking the power. This was a huge improvement. However, he wouldn't be satisfied with this. Even though the record stated that the 9 extinction universe shaker needed to reach the origin emperor realm to be able to successfully cultivate it, Su-yi felt that he should have the opportunity to master this move in the origin void realm. Rest for a while, then continue. Su-yi sat cross-legged on the ground and began to meditate. His great void divine sea had endless vital chi, but he couldn't help but cultivate martial arts from morning till night. Moreover, it was the 9 extinction universe shaker that consumed a lot of vital chi. Therefore, at this moment, Su-yi also felt extremely tired and needed to rest for a while to recover. Clatter! Chapter 12:31. After a period of recuperation, Su-yi's primordial chi gradually recovered. The spiritual energy in the mysterious space was as dense as a fog, so the recovery speed was naturally very fast. Su-yi was not in a hurry to refine the Yuanyang heavenly bone. Instead, he opened his eyes and continued to cultivate the 9 extinction heaven shaking 9 extinction. The vast momentum was fluctuating, and bursts of energy were like stormy waves. In the distance, the blood jasper spirit ginseng came out from the herb field and looked at the young man's movements in shock. This kid is really diligent. A human face appeared on the blood jasper spirit ginseng, and its expression was very vivid. The commotion caused by the young man was not loud, but they could clearly feel the powerful aura contained within it. The blood jasper spirit ginseng seemed to be able to understand why Su-yi could reach such a terrifying level at such a young age. All of this was inseparable from his hard work. Of course, opportunities were also very important. The existence of the mysterious space was a kind of opportunity bestowed by the heavens. Including Su-yi himself, he still did not know the specific origin of the mysterious space. It's really hard to imagine what kind of level this guy can reach in the future. The blood jasper spirit ginseng muttered to itself, moved by Su-yi. The young man's talent was extraordinary, and coupled with such hard work, his future achievements were immeasurable. In fact, this was also a good fortune for the blood jasper spirit ginseng. Since meeting this young man, it had also obtained great benefit. In the past, it was difficult for the blood jasper spirit ginseng to pass the initial tribulation, but now it quickly reached the intermediate stage of the demon illusionary stage, and the demon emperor stage was also within reach. Is this little girl going to wake up? At this moment, not far away from the blood jasper spirit ginseng, a wave of fluctuation attracted his attention. Turning his head, he saw Ji Hanua, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, began to emit a bright green light. The water attribute energy surged like waves, causing bursts of whistling sounds. This light circled around her body, gradually condensing, and then transformed into a huge dragon, occupying the sky above her head. Roar! A dragon's roar shook the sky, breaking the sound barrier and penetrating the soul, causing the blood jasper spirit ginseng to be in a trance. Its body could not help but sway, and only by circulating the chi in its body did it resist. The blood jade spirit ginseng couldn't help but open its mouth wide when it saw the dragon image above the young girl's head. It said in shock, "Hornless dragon. This is a hornless dragon." The dragon shadow was huge, its body no less than 400 feet long. When it moved, it was like a small mountain ridge. On the other hand, the dragon's shadow had no horns on its head and was shaped like a hornless dragon. Roar! The dragon opened its mouth and let out another roar that shook the sky. Wind and thunder raged in the mysterious space. For no reason, an invisible force surged in the sky and poured into the body of the hornless dragon, causing its body to expand and grow longer. 40 zhang, 50 zhang, 600 feet, 70 zhang, 800 feet. A moment later, the entire body of the hornless dragon grew to 100 feet in size. Its scales were dense, and its muscles were knotted together. It seemed to contain an unlimited amount of energy. Following the expansion of the dragon's body, the aura of the young girl below also skyrocketed, rising steadily. 6th level of Yuan Zhen stage. 7th level Yuan Zhen stage. 8th level Yuan Zhen stage. 9th level Yuan Zhen stage. In a short while, Ji Hanua's aura had skyrocketed to the 9th level of Yuan Zhen stage, and it was still growing. Is she going to wake up? With a flash, Su Yi quickly arrived and landed near the blood jasper spirit ginseng. He was startled by the commotion and looked at Ji Hanua's situation in shock. In Su Yi's eyes, he could see something that the blood jasper spirit ginseng could not detect. Unknowingly, there was a surge of energy in the mysterious space that kept entering the dragon's shadow and then transferred to Ji Hanua's body. This surge of energy carried an extremely ancient aura. It was deep and vast, as if it came from the ancient times and contained some kind of power of inheritance. This little girl is also incredible. This time, she has profited from a disaster. I'm afraid she's going to soar into the sky. The blood jasper spirit ginseng's eyes were as wide as copper bells, and its expression was extremely exaggerated. Ji Hanua was heavily injured and on the verge of death. She barely survived by relying on its life essence, but she never woke up. Who would have thought that today's change would bring her such a huge benefit? What's with the energy in her body? This is not a cultivation technique that Xianjian sect should have. Su Yi mumbled to himself as he looked at the long dragon that was dancing in the air in disbelief. It was obvious that the huge body of the hornless dragon was extremely terrifying. This was not a power that an ordinary cultivation technique could have. With the strength of Xianjian sect, it was not possible for them to have such a cultivation technique. Su Yi felt that this cultivation technique was not any weaker than the cultivation techniques of the first-rate forces. It might even be comparable to the inheritance of the one mountain, 2 religions, 3 sects and 4 factions. This is definitely not an ordinary cultivation technique. This cultivation technique must be related to the hornless dragon. Its grade is definitely terrifying. The blood jasper spirit ginseng was shocked as it stared at Ji Hanua. Su Yi could not take his eyes off her as well. He was extremely shocked. Of course, he knew about the hornless dragon. It was a powerful demon clan that existed in the ancient times, and it was closely related to the dragon tribe. Perhaps it was not as powerful as the golden dragon tribe. However, it was undeniable that it was one of the most powerful races in the world. It was also part of the dragon tribe. However, just like the dragons, phoenixes, and other powerful creatures, the hornless dragon had disappeared from the world. Now there was no trace of it. He did not expect Ji Hanua to have obtained such a powerful cultivation technique. Could it be this cultivation technique came from Tianyao school? Suddenly, Su Yi remembered something. When he was in the secret realm of ominous spirits, he and Ji Hanua were trapped in the Tianyao school's 10,000 demons refining array. It was there that he met the previous faction leader of Tianyao school, the demon emperor Lai Tian. That was another inheritance of the Sky Demon sect. It was something his master, Sky Splitter, had set up to prevent the Sky Demon sect's inheritance from being severed. Su Yi had obtained the 10,000 demons refining array from it. Under his master's guidance, he had obtained the demon god battlesuit. After coming out of the 10,000 demons refining array, Ji Hanua had said that she had also obtained some benefit. It was a sword art, but it was not as simple as a sword art. However, the two of them did not think much of it at that time. A powerful sword art was indeed extraordinary. However, no matter how powerful the martial arts technique was, it still required a sufficient cultivation level to be used. However, now that Su-yi thought about it, perhaps Ji Hanua's cultivation technique related to the hornless dragon came from that sword art. Is this the inheritance of the hornless dragon? It seems that there is a huge resonance in this mysterious space. Su-yi raised his eyes and looked at the sky of the mysterious space. The ancient and powerful power was still pervading, but it was invisible. The blood jasper spirit ginseng could not see it. Chapter 1232. This kind of transformation was extremely powerful. For no reason, Ji Hanua's aura soared. After stepping into the 9th level of Yuan Zhen stage, all of this continued. As time passed, the dragon's body became more and more ferocious. It was as if it was a real object. Its divine might was awe-inspiring. Roar! In the end, the horned dragon let out another roar and rushed into Ji Hanua's body, disappearing without a trace. Chi-Chi! Ji Hanua suddenly opened her eyes. Her eyes were like lightning, and there were 2 dragon shadows swimming in her eyes. A sharp and absolute aura danced around her body, transforming into sword auras that shot out endlessly. Huff! As she exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, everything disappeared. Ji Hanua returned to her usual expression, and the sword auras that filled the sky also disappeared. Miss Hanua, you're awake. Su-yi could not help but be pleasantly surprised when he saw this, and immediately went to Ji Hanua's side. Su-yi. Seeing Su-yi for the first time, Ji Hanua was overjoyed, and a happy smile appeared on her face. The girl quickly bounced up from the ground. Her figure was graceful as she pounced to Su-yi's side. Her eyes were red as she unconsciously brewed a crystalline light. Su-yi. Suddenly, Ji Hanua hugged Su-yi without any explanation. Her arms tightly wrapped around the youth's waist, as if she was afraid that if she let go, she would never see the person in front of her again. Su-yi was startled, and was at a loss for what to do. It was a pity that as a virgin for 2 lifetimes, he had never encountered such a situation before. For a moment, he didn't know how to deal with it. This caused a strange, dry smile to appear on his face. However, Ji Hanua seemed to be unaware of this as she hugged him tightly and refused to let go. It's all right, it's all in the past. After a long while, Su-yi finally regained his senses and gently hugged the girl's exquisite body. His palm gently patted her back as he said softly, "I thought I wouldn't be able to see you again, sob sob." Ji Hanua was sobbing faintly. Her tears flowed down her cheeks and soaked Su-yi's robes. The young girl's sobbing was like a bolt of lightning, striking Su-yi in an instant. It seemed to have plucked at some of his heartstrings, causing Su-yi to freeze on the spot. At this moment, he could feel the girl's surprise, but at the same time, he could feel the fear hidden in her heart. Su-yi knew very well that the woman in his arms must have gone through a lot when she was kidnapped by the Green Sanctuary sect. When the people from the Bawang sect arrived, they were powerless in Jiang Zikan's hands like birds with broken wings. If it wasn't for the blood jade spirit ginseng, the two of them might not even be able to see each other for the last time. What Su-yi didn't know was that, at the very last moment, Ji Hanua had been thinking about her father and Su-yi. It's all in the past. I won't let you get hurt in the future. Unknowingly, Su-yi's arms gradually exerted strength as he hugged the girl tightly. He spoke softly, but for some reason, there was a sense of dominance. At this moment, Su-yi had an unprecedented feeling in his heart. He wanted to protect the woman in his arms and prevent her from being harmed by anyone. When he first received the news that Ji Hanua was kidnapped by the Green Sanctuary sect, his feelings were somewhat similar to this. In his arms, Ji Hanua nodded vigorously as the tip of her nose twitched. Is this how you humans feel? It's so strange. Why do I feel like I'm blushing when I'm just watching? It's even hot. At this moment, the blood jade spirit Ginseng's words were heard, sounding very confused. When Ji Hanua heard this, she couldn't help but slowly release her hands and leave Su Yi's arms. After secretly glancing at the young man in front of her, her cheeks really did turn red, and she couldn't help but lower her head. Su Yi's face darkened, and the veins on his forehead bulged. He glared at the blood jade spirit Ginseng and said, "Grandpa Ginseng, are you a plant? Where did your face come from?" The blood jade spirit Ginseng was still in the origin void stage and had only passed the cardinal tribulation. It hadn't cultivated a human form yet, but he said that its face was red, and it was King hot. Ji Hanua giggled, covered her mouth, and secretly looked at the blood jade spirit Ginseng. Unexpectedly, the huge Ginseng was looking at her with a mischievous smile. This scene made Ji Hanua lower her head again. This time, it's all thanks to Grandpa Ginseng. He saved you. Su Yi's expression became serious again as he spoke to Ji Hanua. I know it was Grandpa Ginseng who saved me. During this period of time, I could occasionally feel someone taking care of me, and I could also feel Grandpa Ginseng's aura. Ji Hanua put away her shyness and bowed to the blood jade spirit Ginseng. She said gently, "Thank you, Grandpa Ginseng, for saving me. I can't thank you enough." "Little girl, you're not bad." The blood jade spirit Ginseng nodded in satisfaction and said, "But you don't have to thank me. This brat begged me to save you. For this, he looks like he's willing to pay any price." As it spoke, the blood jade spirit Ginseng looked at Su Yi with a playful expression, as if it was saying this intentionally. However, Su Yi became anxious when he heard this and hurriedly said, "Grandpa Ginseng, don't go back on your word. You said it yourself. This time, you've obtained great benefits, and you don't need to honor the things you promised before." He had promised to give the blood jade spirit Ginseng a large amount of spiritual liquid. However, after absorbing the energy of the origin stones in the mine, the mysterious space underwent a great change, and Grandpa Ginseng obtained a great improvement. Later, he told Su Yi that he didn't need the benefits of the spiritual liquid. "You brat!" The blood jade spirit Ginseng rolled its eyes and said, "I said I don't need it, so of course I don't need it. What are you so anxious for?" That's good." Su Yi immediately started chuckling. The blood jade spirit Ginseng blew its beard and glared. "Miss Hanua, tell me about that hornless dragon cultivation method of yours. What's going on?" Su Yi recalled the scene he saw previously, and could not help asking very curiously. Ji Hanua did not conceal anything either, and told Su Yi the whole story about the hornless dragon sword art. It turned out that it was really as Su Yi guessed. Everything was a lucky chance that Ji Hanua obtained in the myriad demon divine, refining formation back then. At the beginning, Ji Hanua cultivated according to the cultivation method in her mind and obtained a sword art. It was very extraordinary, but that was it. However, later in the Green Sanctuary sect, when facing Jiang Su's improper behavior, the hornless dragon sword art suddenly erupted with terrifying power invisibly, and a kind of mystic art was activated. That swift and fierce sword chi penetrated the heavens and the earth, transforming into the body of an immeasurable hornless dragon. As if it could kill millions of things, it instantly killed Jiang Su without leaving a trace. After that, Ji Hanua relied on this power to successively kill several early-stage origin void stage powerhouses. It was only when Jiang Zikan made a move that she was suppressed. So it contains a kind of mystic art. In that case, this really is a blessing in disguise this time. Su Yi muttered, feeling shocked. Chapter 1233. Furthermore, the hornless dragon sword art was no longer as simple as a sword art and a secret technique. It had also induced a cultivation technique, which greatly benefited Ji Hanua. Under normal circumstances, a cultivator had to be cautious when cultivating a cultivation technique. Once they had chosen a cultivation technique, they had to be extremely careful when changing it. Otherwise, it would be easy for them to go berserk or even die. However, the cultivation technique induced by the hornless dragon sword art did not have such concerns. It allowed Ji Hanua to cultivate it directly and take the first step. The space here seems very different. When I was cultivating the hornless dragon's inheritance, I could feel a huge force entering my body through this space. The original hornless dragon's inheritance seemed to be lacking, but under the effect of the power of this space, it was directly repaired and became complete. At this time, Ji Hanua began to look around and said in surprise. Until now, she still did not know what this place was that it had such a huge effect. This space belongs to me, but I don't know its exact origin. However, since the inheritance you obtained is related to the hornless dragon, you will naturally obtain some opportunities here. Sui laughed. The reason why he called this place the mysterious space was because he did not know its origin. However, he knew one thing. Every time a barbaric demon beast entered this place, it would obtain a huge benefit and inheritance, which was enough to allow the barbaric demon beast to be reborn. From the earliest golden python and white jade mystic bird, to Su Tionke, Little Handsome Su, the Green Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, and the others, all of them had undergone earth-shattering changes. However, when humans entered this space, they would not be able to obtain such benefit. Of course, with the rich spiritual energy and a certain rhythm unique to this space, Merciless West, Huang Jian, Lei Yunhe, and the others had also rapidly improved. Ji Hanua had stimulated the hornless dragon's inheritance. As a powerful demon beast, the mysterious space was probably extremely beneficial to the hornless dragon. This might be the reason why the mysterious space could complete Ji Hanua's cultivation technique. Ancient hornless dragon. Little girl, you're going to soar into the sky in the future. The blood jasper ginseng looked at Ji Hanua and said in a daze. Ji Hanua smiled and did not say anything. Quite a lot of spiritual liquid has seeped out again. Sui cast his gaze towards the small pool of spirit liquid and found that a small portion of the spirit liquid had seeped out, which made him very happy. Just a few days ago, he had collected all of the spirit liquid. Who would have thought that so much would appear in just a few days? It seemed that the power of the primordial stones that he had devoured this time was absolutely vigorous. This could be seen from the density of the spiritual energy in the space. Let's go out first. I will send you back to Xianjian sect another day. Your father has been worried about you. Sui turned to look at Ji Hanua and said. The people from Xianjian sect and Liuhe sect had left Bawang sect not long after they came out of seclusion. After all, the two sects still had a few cities to manage. They could not be away for too long. Yes. The girl gently nodded and hummed in agreement. Sui was not in a hurry to take away the spiritual liquid. In any case, it would not be able to run away if he left it here. He brought Ji Hanua out of the mysterious space and into the cave. It smells so good. When the light of the mysterious space dissipated, Sui raised his hand and sniffed it before blurting out, "What are you talking about?" "What?" Ji Hanua was puzzled. Sui was stunned. Bad guy. Seeing Sui's infatuated look with his hand raised, Ji Hanua suddenly thought of something. The fragrance on this guy's hand was obviously from her body. Cough cough. How am I bad? Sui coughed dryly and tried his best to cover it up. However, in his heart, he could not help but recall the scene of the two of them hugging each other. Soon, he thought of the charming scene that had happened in the demon refining array. Even his fingers could not help but move, as if he was recalling the wonderful touch of that time. You are the worst. Ji Hanua blushed but was no longer as shy as before. Instead, she lifted her chin and looked straight at Su-yi with a brave look. Cough cough. Little girl, you have become bolder. Su-yi coughed dryly again and said helplessly. Suddenly, Ji Hanua tiptoed slightly and took advantage of the moment when Su-yi was not paying attention to get in front of him. Her red lips were like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, touching the young man's cheek and then parting. In the next moment, the young girl seemed to have been caught doing something bad and ran out of the cave without looking back. Her figure was agile like a butterfly. Su-yi was a little dazed for a moment as he watched the young girl twist her slender waist and gracefully disappear from his sight. Is this the feeling of being in love? It seems pretty good. Feeling the moisture on his cheek after being kissed, the virgin of 2 lifetimes swallowed a mouthful of saliva and let out a chuckle. Soon after, he also walked out of the cave. Su-yi found Nangong Ningyue and let her lead Ji Hanua to walk around the Bawang sect and visit everything here. As for himself, he returned to the back of the mountain and continued to cultivate 9 absolutes shaking the universe. But this time, Su-yi did not enter the mysterious space again. He spent more than a day cultivating before. In another day or so, he needed to gather everyone in the Bawang sect for a meeting. Su-yi did not dare to delay important matters. While cultivating, time passed very quickly. Unknowingly, the day of the meeting had arrived. Su-yi's cultivation progress was not fast. The third move of 8 Desolation Wrath was very difficult to cultivate. It was estimated that it could not be achieved in a few days. Sect Master, everyone has been notified. Among the newly recruited powerhouses of the Bawang sect, a total of 7 Origin Void Realm powerhouses have already gathered in the main hall. In addition, over at the Heavenly Demon Temple, many Beast Emperors and Demon Void Realm powerhouses have also gathered. Nangong Ningyue came to the back of the mountain and reported to Su-yi. Got it. You go and wait first. I'll be there soon. Su-yi said and stopped cultivating his martial technique. After adjusting his breathing for a while, he rushed towards the main hall of the Bawang sect. A moment later, the youth sat at the head of the main hall. On both sides of his seat, there were 2 large chairs with backs. On the left sat Merciless West, and on the right was empty. Su-yi looked around. Huang Jian and Wang Zhenquan were both sitting on the chairs below. Other than these people, there were a total of 7 figures standing in the main hall with their heads lowered. There were many chairs left, but no one dared to sit down. These 7 people were the Origin Void Realm powerhouses who had just joined the Bawang sect. However, most of them were at the early stage of the Origin Void Realm. 3 or 4 of them came after hearing the news after the destruction of the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. With the consent of Huang Jian and the others, they were accepted into the sect. Outside the main hall, there were also a large number of Demon Void Realm barbaric beasts waiting. These barbaric beasts could not transform into human forms. Their bodies were too huge, and they could not enter the main hall. There was no way to squeeze in here. You guys can sit down too. Including Merciless West, Green Emperor, and the others, their eyes fell on Su-yi. Even Su-yi, who was on Su-yi's shoulder, had a serious look on his face. He felt that what Su-yi was going to say next was definitely very important. The 7 new Yuan Void stage martial artists below were even more respectful as they stood there. They knew clearly in their hearts that even though the young man sitting at the head of the table was extremely young, his cultivation was far above the 7 of them. From today onwards, the Bawang sect will be divided into inner and outer sects, as well as 6 halls and 1 palace. Like other sects, we'll have our own rules and systems. Su-yi's loud voice resounded inside and outside the hall. Everyone heard it. The 6 halls are Shadow Hall, Martial Hall, Torture Hall, Metal Hall, Soul Hall, and Outer Hall. One of the palaces has already been decided. It's called the Heavenly Demon Temple. Sui said again. Everyone listened attentively. Sui had already decided on the Heavenly Demon Temple. He had also appointed the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhinoceros Emperor, and the Black Tortoise Emperor as the three great guardians of the Heavenly Demon Temple. Shadow Hall will be in charge of collecting information about the Tian Yao School. We'll start with the Zone of Chaos and set up our own informers there. In the future, we'll go to the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean. Every major event that happens in any place can be reported to the sect in a timely manner. Su Yi's eyes shone brightly as he spoke. Information was an indispensable part of a sect. The Shadow Hall would be like the eyes of the Bawang sect. It could see every corner of the Zone of Chaos. Su Yi had his own plans. The Shadow Hall's role was not only in battles. He also wanted to find many people, such as Su Tianke, Su Chun, Yenlin, and the others. He also wanted to find his parents, who were starting to fade in his memory. The Martial Hall will mainly nurture the elite disciples of the Bawang sect. All the inner sect disciples will be managed by the Martial Hall. The Martial Hall's role is to be the backbone of the Bawang sect. It will continuously send the outstanding talents of the sect and arrange training and other matters. Sui said again. Merciless West, who was beside him, nodded slightly. He knew the importance of the Martial Hall that Sui had mentioned. This was no longer an ordinary sex arrangement. It was a model that only first-rate and second-rate forces had. There would be inner sect disciples, and of course, there would also be personal disciples. All the personal disciples would be successors to the higher-ups of the Bawang sect. On the $W section of the new chapter, most of the personal disciples would be born from the inner sect disciples of the Martial Hall. The Torture Hall is in charge of punishment. If any disciple betrays or fights among themselves, they will be punished by the Torture Hall. In addition, captured enemies of the Bawang sect will also be detained and interrogated by the Torture Hall. The Torture Hall is the foundation of the Bawang sect's continuous expansion. Only when all laws are strictly enforced and everything is done in an orderly manner can the Bawang sect truly expand in a stable manner. Otherwise, there will be no need for external enemies to invade us. We will be the first to fall into chaos. At this point, Su Yi's entire being emitted a fierce and absolute aura. It was like an unsheathed sharp sword, causing many people in the hall to feel a chill all over their bodies. The Bawang sect would continue to expand. In Su Yi's plan, there would be more than a few thousand people in the future. One had to know that his goal was the sacred mountain. Without tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of disciples, how could they stand shoulder to shoulder with the sacred mountain? By that time, when the number of people increased, there would inevitably be cases of treason and internal strife. Those big forces would very likely send spies into the Bawang sect. The Torture Hall needed to be impartial and strict at this time. They could not act based on emotion. Everything had to be carried out strictly according to the rules of the sect. When it came to disciples who caused trouble, whether they were beaten, expelled, or killed, there had to be evidence to support them. Only by being impartial could the Torture Hall demonstrate its power. For some reason, when the Torture Hall was mentioned, the new experts in the hall unconsciously tensed up. And all of this was seen by Su Yi. He understood that these people did not have any intention of betraying the Overlord sect, nor did they want to cause trouble for the Overlord sect. It was just that they were all rogue cultivators in the past and were used to being free and unrestrained. Now that they had become members of the Bawang sect, they instinctively felt a little unaccustomed to the strict rules and regulations that suddenly restricted them. Su Yi understood this very well. The Bawang sect doesn't have enough manpower now. I have the following arrangements for the 6 halls for the time being. Su-yi spoke again and looked at everyone in the hall. Huang Jian will be the first guardian of the Bawang sect, and Wang Zhenquan will be the second guardian. From today onwards, Elder Huang will be temporarily in charge of the Martial Hall, and Elder Wang will be temporarily in charge of the Metal Hall. Do the two of you have any objections? After hearing their names, Huang Jian and Wang Zhengquan's spirits were lifted. We will listen to the sect master's arrangements. We have no objections. Huang Jian immediately stood up and cupped his fists at Su-yi as he spoke in a deep voice. We will not disappoint the sect master. Wang Zhengquan's eyes were also shining with excitement. The two of them could not help but feel their blood boiling and their emotions surging. Among all the people present, they had the deepest experience. Ever since they followed Su-yi, their cultivations had advanced by leaps and bounds. They had also watched the Bawang sect develop and grow rapidly. And now, as the first and second guardians of the Bawang sect, they were also entrusted with important tasks by Su-yi. They were respectively in charge of the Martial Hall and the Metal Hall. This was something the two of them would never have dared to imagine in the past. It must be known that the current Bawang sect was already considered to be in the category of second-rate forces. Although there was still a big gap between them and the truly powerful second-rate forces, Huang Jian and Wang Zhenquan both believed that the Bawang sect would be truly powerful in the near future. As long as their performance was good enough, the three words, acting hall master, were not without the possibility of becoming hall master. I will have to trouble the two guardians for these two halls. Su-yi nodded and expressed his satisfaction. Then he looked at Nangong Ningyue. Nangong Ningyue, you will temporarily take the position of the external hall master and be responsible for all matters related to the recruitment of disciples. Nangong Ningyue will not disappoint the sect master. Nangong Ningyue was stunned at first. Then, waves suddenly appeared in her eyes as she said in a powerful voice. She did not expect that Su-yi would actually let her temporarily take the position of the external hall master. The management of the external hall is very important, but your own cultivation cannot be neglected. I hope that one day I can truly call you hall master Nangong. Su-yi quietly looked at Nangong Ningyue and said softly. Being stared at by the youth, Nangong Ningyue's delicate body could not help but tremble as if she had been electrocuted. She knew that this was Su-yi's performance of true trust in her. However, her current cultivation base was only at the middle level of Yuanjin realm. As the Bawang sect gradually grew stronger, such strength would be difficult to convince the masses in the future. Therefore, Su-yi said this. Rest assured, sect master. I will definitely work hard to cultivate. Nangong Ningyue said again, but her words did not have much confidence. Su-yi finally stared at her and did not say anything. Nangong Ningyue was still young. If she wholeheartedly cultivated, her future achievements would not be bad. However, Su-yi valued her ability more. The Bawang sect's current mountain gate was single-handedly arranged by her. A large number of the sect's disciples were also recruited by her, including Wang Zhenquan. It seemed that in the future, he still had to think of a way to raise Nangong Ningyue's strength. Only with enough strength could her abilities be fully displayed. Old Lei. Su-yi's gaze shifted. This time, it was looking at Lei Yunhe, who was sitting at the head of the table below. If sect master has any orders, Lei Yunhe will do his best. Facing Su-yi's gaze, Lei Yunhe stood up, gently bent down, and said sonorously, Good. Su-yi nodded and said, Then from today onwards, Old Lei will be the chief elder of the Bawang sect. As for the Soul Hall, it will be handed over to Old Lei. However, I may have to inconvenience Old Lei. Right now, you are the only one in the Soul Hall. At the end of his speech, Su-yi could not help but spread his hands, feeling helpless in his heart. There were too few artificers, alchemists, and soul controllers. The Bawang sect did indeed have several such people. Su-yi himself, his big brother Merciless West, and Feng Qir. However, these three people could not be placed in the Soul Hall. Needless to say, his big brother and himself, Feng Qi would definitely be accepted as a disciple by his big brother in the future. It was not suitable for her to become a member of the Soul Hall. He. Hearing Su Yi's words, Lei Yunhe suddenly laughed and said, "Then I will have to trouble sect master to recruit more useful subordinates for this old man in the future." Chapter 1236. After spending some time together, Lei Yunhe also knew that almost all the experts of the Bawang sect were robbed by Su Yi, including himself. Lei Yunhe felt that it was not scary that he was the only commander in the Soul Hall. As long as the sect master was around, he would definitely be able to continuously replenish the Soul Hall with new blood. Moreover, this way, it would be much faster than relying on the Bawang sect to nurture them themselves. In fact, Lei Yunhe was not very willing to join the Bawang sect at first. Everything was to protect his life, because he still had things he wanted to do. Even if he had to compromise and be forcefully included in the Bawang sect, he would not hesitate to work for Su Yi. However, today, he increasingly felt that following this youth was not a wrong decision. When the mysterious space changed, he had obtained too many benefits, and his cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. Hearing Lei Yunhe's chuckle, many people in the hall couldn't help but curl their lip. However, Su Yi did not respond and only maintained his smile. "Kid, the Martial Hall, Metal Hall, Soul Hall, and Outer Hall have been arranged. What are your plans for the Shadow Hall and the Torture Hall?" Merciless West looked at Su Yi and asked. "The Shadow Hall and the Torture Hall are indeed difficult to handle for the time being. There are no suitable candidates to be the hall masters." Su Yi frowned slightly. There was no one suitable to take over the two hall masters in the Bawang sect at the moment, which made him feel a little troubled. In fact, Su Yi had considered choosing two people based on his discretion. However, after weighing the pros and cons, he felt that it was not suitable. It was because every hall master's position was extremely important. Such a position was very high in the Bawang sect. Not only did it have to consider one's ability, but it also had to consider whether one was trustworthy. For example, Elder Zhou, Elder Sun, and the others who had originally surrendered to the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect and the Heavenly Spider sect, regardless of their abilities, Su Yi's trust in them was still lacking. "Let's leave the Shadow Hall empty for now. I will think of a way to build it up step by step." Su Yi thought for a moment, then looked at Merciless West and said, "As for the torture chamber, why don't I manage it myself for the time being? Do you have the time for that?" Merciless West rolled her eyes and took another sip of wine from the gourd. Then, Su Yi was taken aback, but when he thought about it, it made sense. As the sect leader of the Bawang sect, he would face many complicated matters that the disciplinary hall might not be able to handle. "How about you do it, big brother?" Suddenly, Su Yi's eyes lit up as he spoke. Merciless West was stunned by his words. She wanted to refuse, but she didn't know how to refuse in front of so many people. At the end of the day, the Bawang sect had its share too. However, just as the atmosphere was getting a little weird, a plump figure rushed in from outside the main hall and appeared in front of everyone in an instant. It was a beautiful middle-aged woman. "Kid, I want to get a high priest position in the Bawang sect. Are you going to give it to me?" Impermanence Fairy, Yu Chiohan, asked Su Yi as soon as she arrived. In an instant, Su Yi, Merciless West, Green Emperor, and the others were all shocked and confused. Why did Impermanence Fairy ask for the position of High Priest the moment she appeared? Many people fell silent. The position of High Priest was different from ordinary positions. Other than the sect leader, it was the position with the most authority in the entire sect. To a certain extent, the position of High Priest was not inferior to that of the sect leader, because it was a figure that even the sect leader had to respect. Otherwise, how could she be worthy of the title of High Priest? Sister Impermanence, Are you willing to join the Bawang sect? Unlike the others who were shocked, Su-yi reacted quickly and his eyes lit up. It was great news that an expert like Impermanence Fairy was willing to join the Bawang sect. He should definitely welcome her. However, this woman had a strange personality and her methods were ruthless. He did not know if there would be any trouble when they got along in the future. Of course I'm serious. Impermanence Fairy curled her lips and said, Kid, just give me a straight answer. It doesn't matter if you don't want it. I'm not begging you. Big brother, Su-yi did not make a decision immediately. Instead, he looked at his big brother, Merciless West. A helpless smile crept onto the old man's face, but in the end, he nodded gently. Seeing this expression, Su-yi understood. Well said, well said. If Sister Impermanence Fairy is willing to join the Bawang sect, of course I welcome you. Su-yi immediately said and stood up from his seat. He waved his hand and gestured for Impermanence Fairy to sit on the seat on his right. He rubbed his hands excitedly. In fact, Impermanence Fairy was considered one of his own. She had even entered the mysterious space before. Su-yi did not have anything to distrust. The main thing was that his big brother, Merciless West, nodded, which made Su-yi feel very relieved. G faster. #new. S fastest on RW. Impermanence Fairy Yuchiohan also didn't act coquettish and pretentious. She sat down as if she was an outsider, but her beautiful face still had an extremely rigid and cold expression. Suddenly, Su-yi's eyes lit up again. He could not help but say, Sister Impermanence Fairy, I have something to ask, but I don't know if Sister Impermanence Fairy is willing to do it. I'm a high priest, so I'm also a member of the Bawang sect. Just say what you want to say. Impermanence Fairy said. It's like this. Currently, the Bawang sect has 6 halls and 1 hall. The other halls have suitable candidates for the position of acting hall master. Only the Shadow Hall and the Torture Hall are left. I can't consider the Shadow Hall for the time being, but if Sister Impermanence Fairy can come forward to manage the Torture Hall, that would be the most suitable. Of course, I won't always let Sister Impermanence Fairy handle the matters of the Torture Hall. When I find a suitable person in the future, I'll let Sister Impermanence Fairy take charge of the Bawang sect in the position of a high priest, Su-yi said. He looked at Impermanence Fairy's frosty face, and felt that it was best for her to be the hall master of the Torture Hall. In fact, Impermanence Fairy's personality was fickle. She did everything according to her preferences. Su-yi could not say whether she was willing or not. I thought it was something big. Impermanence Fairy glared at Su-yi and said, I'll take this job. The Torture Hall is in charge of the law. If there's a problem, just punish them severely. If it's more serious, just kill them. Su-yi was stunned and his eyelids twitched. So in Impermanence Fairy's eyes, the Torture Hall was either to punish people or to send them to the afterlife. This, Su-yi smiled bitterly. Sister Impermanence Fairy, it's true that the Torture Hall is in charge of the law, but it's not just about fighting and killing. Merciless West, who was next to him, rubbed her forehead helplessly. I'll tell Sister Impermanence Fairy about this in the future, Su-yi said in the end. He felt that the Bawang sect was just slowly getting on the right track, so it was not a bad thing to have a stricter punishment. In the process of rising up, no one was allowed to cause any trouble in the sect. Harsh punishments would also make the sect's disciples not dare to cause trouble. Chapter 12:37. Okay. Wuchang Fairy nodded. She was not stupid, and of course, she understood what Su-yi meant. Kid, we're all on the same side from now on. Don't call me Sister Fairy. It sounds a little weird. At this time, Merciless West glanced at Wuchang Fairy and said to Su-yi, What, you're not convinced? Yuchiohan raised her eyebrows and glared at Merciless West, saying, I like it when he calls me that. Do you have a problem with that? Merciless West's momentum immediately shrank. He opened his mouth but did not dare to say anything. He just smiled bitterly. Sui could not help but smile when he saw this. It seemed that his big brother's fear of Wuchang Ferry could not be erased in a short time. Sui did not know the specific situation, but he could roughly guess that this fear was more because of his big brother's guilt towards Wuchang Ferry. Actually, Big Brother has a point. Sui saw that the atmosphere was a little tense and said, Sister Fairy is already the head priest of the Bawang sect. Calling you that will cause misunderstandings. How about this, I'll call you Sister Han from now on. He looked at Yu Chiohan and saw that she immediately rejected it, saying, I still like the previous title. Sui said again, Then, how about I call you Sister Han? As he said that, he winked. Kid, you're all grown up now. You even dare to tease me? Wuchang Fairy raised her eyebrows and a fierce look appeared in her eyes, as if she was about to hit someone. On the other side, Merciless West rubbed his forehead and felt a headache. Sui, this kid really knows how to make trouble. Sister Han. Sister Han sounds better. It's decided then. Sui quickly waved his hand and said quickly. Wuchang Fairy did not say anything in the end. She just snorted coldly and sat on the chair. Sui smiled. Actually, calling her Sister Han was not bad. He straightened his expression, looked at the people in the hall, and continued, Everyone has heard what I said just now. From today onwards, Sister Han will be the Bawang sect's great consecrator. In addition, the Bawang sect will temporarily appoint 2 high priests. The other one will be my big brother. Greetings, great consecrators. Everyone in the hall stood up and saluted Merciless West and Yu Chiohan respectively. Even the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Yin Ming, and the other Beast Emperors had looks of reverence on their faces. They all knew that Merciless West and their master were brothers who had gone through life and death together. At this moment, Merciless West did not move from her seat. Her expression did not reveal anything, but her heart was trembling faintly. The Overlord sect has already reached this stage and this kid, Sui, has not let us down. He truly possesses powers that surpass the mortal realm. Of course, all of this could not have been achieved without his own efforts. Merciless West, who had been idle for decades, could not help but sigh. It turned out that single-handedly developing one's own sect was such a fulfilling thing. All of this is just the beginning. The Bawang sect still has a long way to go. Not only Merciless West, but Sui also clenched his fists and said in his heart, The arrangements for the 6 halls have been completed. For the Heavenly Beast Hall, in addition to the Purple Elephant Emperor, the Dragon Rhino Emperor, and the Black Tortoise Emperor, there will be a hall master and several elders. Sui adjusted his emotions and looked at the Beast Emperors again. First, his gaze fell on the Green Emperor. Among the Beast Emperors, the Green Emperor was the strongest. The position of Hall Master belonged to him. Master! However, before Sui could speak, the Green Emperor stood up and bowed to Sui. Master, I have a request. Sui was slightly taken aback. The Green Emperor had been following him for so long. He had always been cold and obedient, never questioning his orders. He had not said anything, but the Green Emperor must have known that he would arrange for him to be the Heavenly Beast Hall Master. However, Sui did not know why the Green Emperor interrupted him at this time. This made him curious. He said, Just say what you want. Yes, Master. The Green Emperor bowed again and said, Master, I don't want to take a position in the Heavenly Beast Hall. At least, I don't want to take a position in the Heavenly Beast Hall for the time being. Be it the Hall Master or the Elders. Many people were surprised by these words. The Green Emperor's strength was obvious to all. It did not make sense that he did not want to take a position in the Heavenly Beast Hall. However, Sui was very calm and did not speak. He only looked at the Green Emperor and waited for him to finish. Master, the Heavenly Beast Hall is a part of the Bawang sect. However, what I want to do the most now is not to stay in the sect and protect it. The Green Emperor followed up and said word by word, I want to go out and open up a new world. Master, please fulfill my wish. Open up a new world? Sui raised his eyebrows. He was surprised by the Green Emperor's words. However, at the same time, he was very happy. The Green Emperor had his own ideas, and did not seem to be satisfied with being the Heavenly Beast Hall Master. Master, the two of us have the same idea. If you don't agree, we are more willing to follow you and serve you at any time. Suddenly, Yang Ming and Yin Ming stood up from their seats, and stood on either side of the Green Emperor. They bowed to Sui and spoke in an extremely firm tone. This situation stunned many people. They did not expect the two Beast Emperors to stand up. This included the Spirit-Devouring Emperor, the Purple Elephant Emperor, and many other Beast Emperors. They were suddenly at a loss. Sui fell into a short silence. At this time, he could better understand the feelings of the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming. These three Beast Emperors were the first to follow him and were also the strongest. They had been constantly on the move and did not have much time to rest. The Green Emperor was right. As long as they accepted the position of Hall Master, they would need to spend more time in the sect in the future to deal with many affairs. Therefore, they would rather follow behind Sui or go out on their own to carve out their own path than slow down their own progress. Master, please fulfill my wish. Seeing that Sui was silent, the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming spoke at the same time. Their voices shook the entire hall. Is that so? Sui murmured softly. A smile gradually appeared on his face. He said, All right. I agree to this. From today onwards, you don't have to follow me all the time. You can do as you wish. I won't interfere. Even if you don't do a good job, the Overlord sect won't criticize you. You just have to do what you want. Not only did he not feel unhappy, but he also felt gratified. Chapter 12:38. Now that the three of them had stood up at the same time and wanted to make a name for themselves, Sui was naturally happy to see them succeed. As for the result, Sui did not care. If they really could not make it, they could just go back to the Sky Beast Emperor. Moreover, Sui believed that the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming had a certain level of ability. And thank you, Master. Hearing Sui's approval, the three Beast Emperors were overjoyed. Master, the three of us will live up to your expectations and create the sharpest blade of the Bawang sect. The Green Emperor's voice was trembling, which was caused by excitement. Good. I'll wait for the day you succeed, Sui said with a smile. His heart was also boiling with excitement. He did not ask the Green Emperor and the other two about the specific plan. Everything was up to the three of them to implement. What he needed to do was to quietly watch the three Beast Emperors create the sharpest blade of the Bawang sect. Interesting. They're really confident. Next to Sui, Merciless West also smiled and said, It seems that they've had this idea for a long time. Perhaps they've even discussed it in private. It's good to be so confident. I'd also like to see the final result. He could not help but nod. He was moved by the three Beast Emperors' idea. At this moment, Sui suddenly caught a glimpse of the short Spirit-Devouring Emperor, who seemed to want to say something but stopped on second thought. It seemed that he also wanted to walk behind the Green Emperor and the other two and adventure with them. However, before the Devouring Spirit Emperor could do anything, Sui said, Devouring Spirit Emperor, don't join them. The position of Temple Master of the Heavenly Monster Temple can only be handed to you. The Devouring Spirit Emperor smiled bitterly at first, but then his face became serious again. He said respectfully, Yes, Master. This was Sui's idea. The Devouring Spirit Emperor would never disobey, although he still wanted to join the Green Emperor and the others. Good. As for what happens in the future, it will depend on your performance. That's right, devouring spirit sovereign. I hope that the heavenly demon temple will grow stronger and stronger in your hands. Sui said. Yes, master. The spirit-devouring emperor did not say anything, but his expression was extremely serious. When the time came, the heavenly demon temple's temple master would be in charge of all the barbaric demon beasts in the Bawang sect. But now, he already had several beast emperors under his command. If this had happened a few months ago, the spirit-devouring emperor would never have dared to imagine such a thing. Therefore, this was an honor, but at the same time, it was a heavy responsibility. Most of the arrangements for the 6 halls and 1 palace have been made. Shi Xinghua, Duan Feiguang, and Fan Yuan, who are all at the Origin Void Realm, will be the first batch of deacons of the Bawang sect. They will join the 5 halls respectively. As for the specific arrangements, you can make your own decisions. Sui looked at the 7 Origin Void Realm experts who had just joined the Bawang sect. These people were quite strong and needed to be arranged. Yes, sect master. The 7 of them bowed respectfully. For some reason, everyone felt a little excited. This kind of feeling was something that they could not experience as itinerant cultivators in the past. In addition, Zhou Kuang, Yuan He, Sun Santong, and the others will also start as deacons. They will enter the 6 halls respectively and cooperate with the hall masters with all their might. Sui turned his gaze to the several Origin Emperor realm experts in the hall. There were a total of 6 experts. They were originally from the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect and the Heavenly Spider sect. They had defected to the Bawang sect. Yes, sect master. The few people called Zhou Kuang, Yuan He, and Sun Santong all said respectfully. They did not dare to disobey, but their expressions did not show any happiness. They could finally tell that the trust that these few Origin Emperor Realm deacons received was not as good as the 7 Origin Void Realm experts just now. Don't have any resentment. You have only joined the Bawang sect for a few days. I can't completely trust you. All of this still depends on your performance. Everyone in the Bawang sect is equal. Everyone has a chance, but in the end, you have to rely on yourself to fight for your own status. Sui said softly. He also understood the thoughts of these people. After all, people like Zhou Kuang and the others were all elder-level existences in the second-rate Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. Now that the Bawang sect had only given them the position of deacon, and it was a deacon who was not very trusted, the 6 of them naturally could not be happy. Sect master, we understand. However, Zhou Kuang and the others were not confused and immediately said, It's good that you understand. Sui nodded and then said, However, I will also say the ugly words first. If anyone dares to offend me by relying on their tyrannical cultivation, I will definitely make him disappear from the Bawang sect. As he spoke, killing intent burst out. The fluctuations in the hall gave rise to a sharp intent, causing Zhou Kuang, Yuan He, Sun Santong, and the others to feel a chill down their back. Cold sweat broke out on the soles of their feet. This subordinate does not dare. The few of them immediately spoke and hurriedly expressed their positions. When the young man said that he would disappear from the Bawang sect, he probably meant that he would disappear from this world. Sui did not say anything else and only grunted in acknowledgement. The arrangements are almost done. Does anyone have anything else to add? Sui gently paced in the hall and asked. Before the group of powerhouses could say anything, they heard a young voice that was filled with extreme dissatisfaction. Boss, everyone has a position. It's either a consecrator or a hall master. What about me? How could you forget me? Handsome Su stood on Su Yi's shoulder, his wings akimbo. His angry look was very human. Such a performance made Merciless West, Impermanence Fairy, Green Emperor, Huang Jian, and the others in the hall laugh. Handsome Su was very strong and was respected by many, but he was still just a child after all. What position does a little brat want? Sue glared at Handsome Sue and gave him a knock on the head. It wasn't that Sue hadn't thought about this before. However, Handsome Sue was still too young and inexperienced to take up a position in the military. "Boss, you hit me again. I don't accept this." Handsome Sue covered his head with one wing. His face was full of grievance and anger. "Are you stupid? As the sect master's younger brother, you're still not satisfied with such a high position? Do you want to be a guardian of the heavenly beast hall or a deacon of the outer sect?" Sue rolled his eyes. Handsome Sue was speechless. After thinking about it carefully, he realized that his boss was right. As the sect master's younger brother, his position was already very high. If he took up a position, wouldn't it drag him down? "Boss, I've wronged you." After thinking it through, Handsome Sue suddenly apologized to Sue and said, "I don't want to be a guardian or a deacon. I'll just be the second sect master with peace of mind." Second sect master. Everyone looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. Chapter 1239. Fine, second sect master it is. Sue shrugged helplessly. Little Handsome Sue was still young and naive. Not only was he his boss, but he was also his guardian. Looking at his happy face, Sue didn't know why, but he was also very satisfied. If no one is going to take over, then everyone can leave. Next, the 6 halls and 1 palace will have to speed up their actions so that the Overlord sect can get on the right track. Sue was the last to speak. His arrangements were quite detailed, and the embryonic form of a sect had been formed. All that was left was to perfect it step by step and solve any problems they encountered. Everyone left the hall, leaving behind Merciless West, Impermanence Fairy, Green Emperor, Yang Ming, Een Ming, Sue and Little Handsome Sue. "Boy, do you have any other plans?" Merciless West looked at Sue and asked. "I don't have any special plans at the moment, but I've decided to investigate the secret realm that the Ash Cloud Hall mentioned." Sue thought for a moment before speaking softly. Before Elder Xie and the others left, they had said that there were traces of a secret realm at the northwest edge of the Chaos Realm. However, that secret realm was very fleeting, and many experts had been able to capture its true trajectory in a short period of time and break into it. A secret realm? Merciless West was silent for a moment before asking, "How many people are you going to take with you?" The news of the secret realm had attracted the attention of 3 first-rate sects and 6 second-rate sections. If the Bawang sect went, they definitely couldn't bring too few people, or they would be targeted by the Big Dipper sect or the Blood Sun sect. If too few people went, there would be endless trouble and even great danger. Hearing Merciless West's question, Sue couldn't help but shake his head and say, "The Bawang sect's matters have just been arranged, so it's not good for too many people to leave the sect. Also, I'm only going there to investigate. Even Blue Cloud Hall, 9 Stars Valley, and Blood Sun sect don't know the specifics of the situation there. It's useless even if more people go there. So, in order to avoid trouble, I don't plan to bring too many people. That would easily attract attention." Merciless West nodded. Sue considerations made sense. The 6 halls and 1 palace of the Bawang sect had just been established. If the experts left the sect en masse, many things would be delayed. Furthermore, if they went there with great fanfare, they would definitely alert the enemy and be targeted by the Heavenly Dipper sect and the Blood Sun sect. In that case, it would be better for Sue to disguise himself as an itinerant cultivator and sneak into the vicinity to obtain first-hand information. "Boss, I want to go with you." Just then, Handsome Sue stood on Sue's shoulder and said urgently, "All right, I'll bring you along. However, you must listen to me. Otherwise, I won't bring you along." Sue smiled. Bringing Handsome Sue along was part of his plan. "I'll definitely listen to Boss." Little handsome Su nodded vigorously and said solemnly, "Why don't I go with you? It'll be safer that way." Merciless West frowned slightly. He was still a little worried. Ever since he came to the Chaos Realm, Su-Yi had been by his side for almost a year. Merciless West felt that he was a little like an elder, silently protecting this young man. "Don't worry, big brother. I'm confident. I want to go on the journey alone because I want to train myself. I can't live under your protection forever. Moreover, with handsome Su around, even if we face any danger, it shouldn't be difficult for us to escape if we want to." Su-Yi looked at Merciless West, then at the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming as he said this. This was the truest thought in his heart. Along the journey to the Chaos Realm, it was his big brother and the Beast Emperors who had been protecting him that ensured the smooth rise of the Bawang sect. Now, he wanted to train himself and work hard to improve himself. He couldn't stand behind them forever. Moreover, he had to bring handsome Su with him. This little guy was now at LV8 Demon Emperor realm. His strength was probably not much weaker than Merciless West's. With handsome Su by his side, Su-Yi felt that he should be able to protect himself. "Then, you must be more careful." Merciless West looked solemn as he reminded Su-Yi. Su-Yi nodded silently and didn't reply. Merciless West thought for a while and suddenly said, "You're right. Young people need to explore more. This trip to gather information is also a good experience. If that's the case, you should bring that little girl with you. Her strength is not bad now, but she's still lacking when it comes to real battles. It's time to bring her out for some fresh air. She'll never amount to anything if she's spoiled." Su-Yi was stunned when he heard this. He immediately understood that the little girl his big brother was talking about was undoubtedly Feng Qi. Feng Qi had the Calamity Qi poison soul, but for so long she had been cultivating peacefully in the mysterious space, or the Bawang sect. She had never experienced anything outside. Although she was about to reach Yuan Zhen stage, Su-Yi understood that Feng Qi might not even be a match for those mid-level Yuan spirit stage experts with rich experience in actual combat. Moreover, this was under the condition that she possessed the Calamity Qi and Poison Soul. It could be said that Feng Qi's combat experience was like a blank sheet of paper. "That's good too. Then I'll do as you say. I'll bring Feng Qi along." Su-Yi nodded and agreed. Bringing along a little girl can also increase the difficulty of your training. It'll be more effective this way. Merciless West smiled. Su-Yi's trip this time was not only for him to gather information, but also for him to gain experience. This was because there were all kinds of people in the vicinity of the secret territory. Not only were there people from various powerful forces, but there were also countless rogue cultivators who would take advantage of the situation. "Young man, when are you going to depart?" Merciless West asked again. "There's no hurry," Su-Yi said. "I'll stay in the sect for another day or two before we depart. At the same time, I'll bring Ji Hanoi and send her back to the Xianjian sect." The secret territories matter was not settled yet. There was no rush to get involved. Su-Yi had his own plans. After Ji Hanoi recovered, she would definitely return to the Xianjian sect. Otherwise, Ji Tianfu would be worried about her. Once the secret territory shows signs of opening, I'll find a way to send the news back. When the time comes, if it's necessary, you'll have to bring the experts from the Bawang sect along with you. Su-Yi's eyes sparkled as he said this again. Merciless West nodded. Everyone wanted the benefits in the secret territory. If the secret territory really opened, as long as there was a chance, the Bawang sect would fight for it. Of course, this all depended on the situation when the time came. All right. Chapter 1240. Okay. Su-Yi agreed. Oh, right. After a while, he looked at the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming and asked, "What do you three plan to do?" These three beast emperors had rejected the high-level positions in the heavenly beast temple. They had their own plans and would definitely not stay in the sect. Since Master wants to find out about the secret realm, why don't we head in that direction as well? We'll split up with Master, but once we're near the secret realm, we can look out for each other in time if anything happens," the Green Emperor said. Next to him, Yang Ming added, "That's a good idea, but it's best if we don't mix in with the humans at the beginning. Otherwise, we'll be easily recognized." Sui, the Green Emperor, and the others nodded in agreement. The Overlord sect's reputation had spread far and wide, and many people had seen a few beast emperors before. If they were recognized, it would be difficult for them to hide their track. "It's decided then. We'll split into two groups and head toward the secret realm at the same time. If everything is unpredictable, there's no need to meet. If there's any trouble or the secret realm appears, you'll meet up with us as soon as possible." In the end, Sui made the final decision. Overall, the Bawang sect's experts would split into three groups. Sui, Su Xiaoshui, and Feng Qi'er would secretly approach the secret realm. The Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming would hide their tracks and interact with many savage beasts. They would also move closer to the secret realm. Finally, Merciless West and the remaining experts would stay in the sect and wait for Sui to send back news. They would then decide how many people they needed. As for how the news would be sent back, Sui was not too worried. He felt that if Elder Xie was here, he might be able to borrow the power of the Ash Cloud Hall or send a savage beast to bring the news back to the sect. Not only that, the Bawang sect could also send people to the nearest city and obtain first-hand news through the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. "Anyway, be careful," Merciless West warned again. Then, she discussed some matters with Sui and the others before leaving. Sui didn't ask what the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming were planning to do. Since he had let them do as they pleased, there was no need to ask too many questions. If there was something he needed to know, the three beast emperors wouldn't hide it from him. Sui found Feng Qi'er and told her about his plans to go out for training. He made it clear that he wanted to bring her along. When Feng Qi'er heard this, she did not hesitate at all and readily agreed. This young girl's temperament had undergone a huge change from before. She no longer appeared as delicate and weak as before. Instead, she had become more and more confident. However, Sui could tell that Feng Qi'er, who had never experienced anything, was not strong enough no matter how confident she was. At the very least, he needed to see blood on his hands before he could truly grow. In this world, there was no one who could keep their hands clean. Not to mention, this was the Chaos region. "I need to bid farewell to my lord." When Sui told her the time of departure, the first person Feng Qi'er thought of was Merciless West. However, for some reason, this young girl seemed to be oblivious to Merciless West's intentions. She still didn't take the initiative to bring up the matter of becoming his disciple, and continued to address him as her lord. Sui felt that it was necessary to remind her in the future. It was not good for his elder brother to ask for such things himself. Most importantly, he felt that Feng Qi'er knew what his elder brother meant but pretended not to know. "Prepare well. We will leave in the morning the day after tomorrow," Sui said and left. Su Xiaoshui had already flown away and no one knew where he went. As for Sui, he went to look for Ji Hanua. When Ji Hanua knew that they were about to return to the Xianjian sect, her eyes reddened again. She and her father had experienced a life-and-death separation. A few days had passed since Elder Xie, Elder Zhong, Elder Tang, and the others left the Bawang sect. With the speed of these people, they had already returned to their respective sects by now. 9 Stars Valley. In a deep valley, it was extremely quiet. Lush green covered the bottom of one's eyes, and one could hear the crisp chirping of birds. The deep valley looked extremely peaceful. However, if there was someone with a high cultivation base here, it would not be difficult to notice that on the layers of rugged mountain rocks, and between the dense ancient trees, there was a faint glimmer of starlight. Within the starlight, there was a strange and mysterious power that made people cautious and fearful for no reason. At this moment, there was an open area in the deep valley that was surrounded by trees. In this open area, a middle-aged man with a jade-like face sat on a stone bench. On the stone table in front of him, there was a chessboard carved with 9 vertical lines and 9 horizontal lines. At the intersection of the lines on the chessboard, there seemed to be black stars embellished with a power that could devour one's soul. With just a glance, it was enough to make one's soul tremble. On the surface of the chessboard, there were streams of starlight that flowed and bloomed little by little. It was incomparably magnificent. Black and white chess pieces covered half of the chessboard. On the other side of the stone table, an old man in his 50s who was holding a black chess piece thought for a moment and gently placed a chess piece. Valley Master Elder Tang is back. Suddenly, as a figure appeared not far away, such a voice entered the ears of the middle-aged man and the old man in his 50s. The middle-aged man did not speak. He weighed a white chess piece next to his hand and thought for a long time before he placed the chess piece in his hand. Then, he said, "Ask Elder Tang to come and see me." Yes. The person who had just spoken took the order and left. "Valley Master, Tang Wang has disregarded your order. He has gone overboard this time." Opposite the middle-aged man, the old man placed another chess piece and said indifferently. The middle-aged man's black hair was neatly combed to the back of his head. He had a gentle and scholarly temperament. As he placed a chess piece, he said, "Elder Tang only helps Su-Yi because he loves talents. However, his behavior is indeed too much." As he spoke, the middle-aged man, who was the Valley Master of the 9-Star Valley, did not seem to care at all. He had a gentle and refined temperament. However, the old man opposite him knew that if the Valley Master said the word "too much," it meant that in the Valley Master's heart, Elder Tang had begun to cross some of the bottom lines. There are many suspicious points about Su-Yi. I'm afraid that the Blue Cloud Hall and the Blood Sun sect are also very interested in him. Originally, this person was already in the hands of our 9-Star Valley. I didn't expect that we would return empty-handed in the end. What a pity! I'm afraid that it will be even more difficult to have such an opportunity next time," the old man said as he continued to place his chess piece. "It's hard to say whether it's difficult or not. I'm afraid that it will depend on the methods of each player." Chapter 1241. As the 9-Star Valley Master spoke, he placed a piece on the chessboard with his right hand. Suddenly, the entire chessboard was filled with dazzling starlight, illuminating their faces. It was clear that it was daytime, but the surroundings were filled with dazzling starlight. It was bright and colorful. The old man in his 50s, who was called Elder Nye, looked down. After the Valley Master placed that piece, the situation on the chessboard had changed drastically. From the previous equilibrium, it was now filled with murderous intent. All the black pieces were locked down, and none of them could escape from the encirclement of the white pieces. At this moment, Elder Nye replayed the game in his mind and realized that the Valley Master had been preparing this final killing move since a long time ago. However, the killing intent had been concealed earlier, so he did not notice it at all. The Valley Master's chess skills are unparalleled in the world. I admit defeat wholeheartedly. Elder Nye threw a black piece in his hand and admitted defeat. The 9-Star Valley Master smiled gently and did not say anything. Instead, he looked to the side. With a swoosh, an old figure quickly swept over and stood beside the chessboard. "Greetings, Valley Master." The person who came was Elder Tang Wang. He bowed to the middle-aged man and then nodded slightly at Elder Nye. "Elder Tang, you're finally willing to come back." The 9-Star Valley Master, whose real name was Chun Yao, looked at Elder Tang and smiled softly. "Valley Master, this matter is all my fault. I'll accept any punishment." Tang Wang cupped his hands and said to the middle-aged man. Back then, he had stopped Tao Yuanda and Dong Chongqing from kidnapping Su Yi. After the matter was over, he had stayed in the Bawang sect for a month and only returned to the Nine-Star Valley today. In Tang Wang's heart, even if the Valley Master blamed him, it was reasonable. "I sent Elder Tao and Elder Dong to bring Su Yi back, not to hurt him wholeheartedly. If that young man is willing, the Nine-Star Valley can be on good terms with him and form a good relationship with him," Chun Yao said. However, Tang Wang did not comment on this. He only said, "That young man's future achievements will definitely be extraordinary. It's not a bad thing for me to help him. However, if Valley Master is dissatisfied, I, Tang Wang, will bear all the blame." The scene fell into silence. Chun Yao didn't speak, but Elder Nye sat on the stone bench without saying a word. His eyes were focused on his nose, and his nose was focused on his heart, as if he had turned a deaf ear to the conversation between the two. However, the three of them knew in their hearts that whether it was their own words or those of others, whether it was true or false, they all had a balance in their hearts. After a long while, Chun Yao suddenly smiled and said, "Elder Tang is overthinking things. You are an elder of my Nine Stars Valley. Naturally, you can make some decisions in the Nine Stars Valley. Although I am the Valley Master, of course I will listen to your opinion." What Elder Tang did outside represented the will of the Nine Stars Valley. Therefore, there was absolutely no need to talk about punishment. However, I hope that when Elder Tang is outside in the future, you will consider my thoughts more and not act willfully. Hearing these words, Tang Wang remained silent. No one knew what he was thinking. However, his brows were slightly furrowed, and Chun Yao stared straight at him. After a long while, Tang Wang said again, "Thank you for not punishing me, Valley Master. However, I still feel that there is no need for the Nine Stars Valley to do anything to that young man. As long as we help him, the disadvantages will outweigh the benefits in the future. Elder Tang." Chun Yao's voice unconsciously became louder, interrupting Tang Wang's words. He said, "I already know what Elder Tang means, and I will consider your opinion. However, Elder Tang doesn't need to worry too much about the final decision. It's better for the Nine Stars Valley to act in a unified manner. If there are different actions, won't we be laughed at by the other sects? Therefore, in the future, just act according to my orders." The Nine Stars Valley Master's voice was still not loud, but it was obviously much colder than before. Tang Wang did not speak again, but his brows were furrowed. He knew the Valley Master's character too well and knew how he handled things. His rebuttal would be useless. However, a sudden anger rose in his heart. He said in a low voice, "Valley Master, please don't worry. Even if I were to act in the future, I will not act in the name of the Nine Stars Valley. I will not make things difficult for the other members of the Nine Stars Valley and the Valley Master." "Elder Tang," Chun Yao shouted and reiterated, "I hope you don't forget your identity. Every action you take represents the Nine Stars Valley. How can it have nothing to do with the other members of the Nine Stars Valley and me? Please think twice about what you do in the future." This time, Tang Wang did not continue the conversation. Instead, he said, "If the Valley Master does not punish me for this matter, I will take my leave." His voice was still in his mouth when his body had already turned around. He strode out and rushed into the forest. Traces of a secret realm have appeared at the edge of the Chaos region. Elder Tang must have heard about this. Many people have already gone to the Nine Stars Valley. "Elder Tang, you should hurry over." The Nine Stars Valley Master's voice drifted out. However, the old figure had already disappeared into the lush green forest. No one knew if he had heard it or not. "Valley Master, Tang Wang is still as stubborn as before." Elder Nye, who was opposite Chen Yao, opened his eyes and spoke again after Tang Wang left. Elder Tang is good in other aspects, but he is a little stubborn. However, it is better for the 9 Stars Valley to act in a unified manner. Otherwise, how can we establish ourselves in the Chaos region? The 9 Stars Valley Master said. Elder Nye nodded. They all knew that Tang Wang was stubborn and had caused many conflicts in the valley in the past. However, there were big and small conflicts. Fortunately, they did not cross any bottom line and could only be considered as conflict. Just like this time, Tao Yuanda and Dong Chongqing had already captured Sui, but Tang Wang insisted on letting him go. This matter was not a big deal, but to a certain extent, it had already affected the 9 Stars Valley Master's dignity. Valley Master Sui should still be in the Bawang sect. Why don't I go and bring him back? Elder Nye said. Elder Tang had returned to the 9 Stars Valley. The people from the Blue Cloud Hall should have also left the Bawang sect. If they made a move now, they would have a high chance of capturing Sui. Ha ha! Chen Yao suddenly chuckled and said, "You underestimate that young man and the people around him." With the 9 Stars Valley and the Blood Sun sect eyeing them covetously, do you really think the Bawang sect would not be prepared? Elder Nye was silent for a moment and could not help but nod. Valley Master is right. I have not thought it through. All the rumors about Sui indicated that this young man was not an ordinary person. Chapter 1242. Previously, the 9 Stars Valley had already made a move. In addition, the people of the Blood Sun sect were even more brazen and plotting against him. In this way, the Bawang sect would definitely be prepared to deal with it. It would definitely be very difficult for the 9 Stars Valley to capture him at this time. If things went wrong, the 9 Stars Valley might suffer heavy losses. One had to know that the second-rate force, the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect, was destroyed because of the Bawang sect. The 9 Stars Valley was many times stronger than the Jade Tripod Alchemy sect. However, they could not go through so much trouble. It was not worth it for any expert to die. There will always be opportunities. That Sui is talented and his methods are domineering. However, from what I've heard, that youth is not a well-behaved person. As long as he doesn't hide in the Bawang sect, we will have plenty of opportunities to make a move. There's no rush. The 9 Stars Valley Master, Chen Yao, sat on the stone bench and reached out to pick up the white chess pieces on the chessboard before placing them into the chess bowl. Elder Nye observed for a moment and discovered that Chen Yao's order of collecting the chess pieces was extremely regular. It was exactly the opposite of the order of his placing the chess pieces. There was not a single mistake. Watching the white chess pieces being taken away one by one, Elder Nye said softly, "Tang Wang's status in the 9 Stars Valley is quite high. It's reasonable for people like Tao Yuanda, Dong Chongqing, and the others to respect and fear him. So, next time, why don't you let me take action and bring Sui back to the valley?" It wouldn't be easy to immediately head to the Overlord sect to capture Sui. However, if Sui were to appear elsewhere, he would lose the protection of the illusory spirit world. Even if Shi Wuqing had the protection of a few powerful beast emperors, he wouldn't be able to stop the 9 Stars Valley. In addition, Elder Nye and Elder Tang's cultivation were on par with each other and their status was similar. There was no need to give Tang Wang too much face. Of course, it would be even better if they could not capture that youth in front of Tang Wang. The 9 Stars Valley Master did not answer Elder Nye's question. After placing the last white chess piece into the bowl, he placed his hands on his knees and stared calmly at the chessboard. He said, "Elder Tao Yuanda and Elder Dong Chongqing have gone to investigate the secret realm. After they are done there and return to the valley, send them to guard the Thunder Sealing Valley for 100 years." As soon as these words came out, Elder Nye's sitting figure suddenly trembled, and a look of horror appeared on his face. Valley Master, this punishment is a little. His voice suddenly rose as he screamed, but Chen Yao waved his hand to stop him. This matter is settled. There is no need for further discussion, said the 9-star Valley Master. Gu Elder Nye still wanted to say something, but his eyes met Chen Yao's. The middle-aged man's eyes sparkled like the most dazzling stars in the night sky. In an instant, Elder Nye felt as if his body had been struck by lightning. He unconsciously swallowed the words he wanted to say. However, his heart was like a raging sea that was being overturned and stormy waves were surging. Thunder Ceiling Valley was the most important place in the 9 Stars Valley. The strongest ancestors in the 9 Stars Valley were all in seclusion in Thunder Ceiling Valley and did not come out for many years. In Thunder Ceiling Valley, there were often strong cultivators guarding it. They would activate the power of the stars in their bodies from time to help the ancestors cultivate. This process was not as simple as consuming vitality. An ordinary origin ancestor would find it difficult to make any progress in cultivation after guarding it for 10 years. After guarding it for 20 years, one's vitality would begin to deplete, and one's cultivation would gradually decline. Under normal circumstances, only the higher-ups or disciples of the 9 Stars Valley who had committed serious crimes would be sent to Thunder Ceiling Valley to guard it. Under normal circumstances, they would be released after guarding it for 10 to 20 years. Although their cultivation would not improve during this period, it would not affect their foundation too much. They could still continue to cultivate and improve. Some people had guarded it for more than 10 years. They were always tense and consumed a lot of vitality. After they came out, their strength would suddenly surge. Therefore, if the other strong cultivators in the valley wanted to cultivate in seclusion, they would often choose to enter Thunder Ceiling Valley. However, they would not stay there for too long. Only then could the seclusion be truly effective. Elder Nye, are you going to do your own things, or do you want to play another game with me? After a while, Chen Yao asked Elder Nye with a slight smile on his face, looking at him with a carefree expression. I still have some trivial matters to attend to. I'll play chess with you next time. Elder Nye sorted out his emotions, stood up from the stone bench, and cupped his fists at Chen Yao. All right. Chen Yao nodded. I'll take my leave. Elder Nye cupped his fists and walked in a direction. Even after he entered the dense forest, Elder Nye still could not calm down. The two elders, Tao Yuenda and Dong Chongqing, had a high status in the 9 Stars Valley. However, they had been stopped by Tang Wang and had probably violated the Valley Master's taboo. However, the punishment of guarding it for 100 years was really too heavy. Sigh. Elder Nye let out a soft sigh and left without looking back, disappearing from the forest. In the open area in the middle of the forest, the 9 Stars Valley Master, Chen Yao, picked up a black chess piece on the chessboard. There was no change in his gentle and elegant face. However, when he rubbed his 2 fingers together, the black chess piece in his hand turned into a wisp of smoke and slowly dissipated. No square root Bawang sect. A huge boulder that was 10 feet tall stood there, and the words Overlord Sect were written on it. The handwriting was strong, and it exuded a domineering aura. Beside the boulder stood a group of figures. Kid, you must be careful. If you're exposed, it's better to hide temporarily or send a message back as soon as possible. Merciless West stood in front of the crowd and said to Su-yi, Don't worry, big brother. I know what I'm doing. Su-yi faced the sect with Ji Hanhua and Feng Qir beside him. There was a little bird perched on his shoulder. Beside him, the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming stood quietly. On the opposite side, behind Merciless West, the Devouring Spirit Emperor, Purple Elephant Emperor, Huang Jian, Wang Zhenquan, and the others were all looking at him. Impermanence Fairy Yu Chouhan was also present. The 3 of you must be careful as well. If you encounter any obstacles, just send a message back. The Bawang sect will support you at any time. Merciless West looked at the Green Emperor and the others and reminded them. Understood. The three Beast Emperors all nodded with serious expressions. However, for some reason, the Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and the other two all carried an indelible high-spirited aura. Looks like you're still full of confidence for this trip. Sui saw this and couldn't help but laugh. Master, don't laugh at us. The three of us can't guarantee that we'll make a name for ourselves outside, but we'll definitely work hard to bring glory to the Bawang sect. A smile appeared on Yin Ming's beautiful face as her red lips parted slightly. Alright, it's getting late. Let's go. Sui didn't say anything else. With a gentle wave of his hand, he led Ji Hanua, Feng Qier, and little handsome Su into the distance. Goodbye, master. Feng Qier turned around and waved goodbye to Merciless West. Ji Hanua also waved to everyone. Kid, you must be careful. Come back soon, sect leader. Chapter 1243. Let's go too. The Green Emperor and the other two didn't delay and flew up. Be careful. Come back early. Everyone waved goodbye and watched as the six figures gradually disappeared from sight. Sui, Handsome Su, Ji Hanua, and Feng Qier formed a team. The Green Emperor, Yang Ming, and Yin Ming went in different directions. Handsome, normal demons can transform into human form after reaching the Demon Emperor realm. When will you be able to do that? It's still a little eye-catching now. It's not very convenient. Sui asked. The four of them walked through the forest instead of flying in the sky. Boss, I'm not a normal demon. Little Handsome Su stood on Suyi's shoulder. Even though they were moving at high speed, his body didn't move at all. He was as steady as a rock. I know you're not normal, but you'll definitely be able to transform into human form. When will you be able to do it? Don't you know? Sui rolled his eyes. Well, Handsome Su was immediately stunned. I can't say for sure. I don't have much information about my awakening yet, but I guess I might be able to do it when I reach the Demon Grandmaster realm. He was very uncertain, but Sui was very confused. It was an ironclad rule that demon emperors could transform into human form. All demon emperors could do it. However, Handsome Su was different. It could only be attributed to his phoenix body. It seemed that demons with powerful bloodlines not only had different heavenly tribulations, but they were also greatly restricted in transforming into human form. Is that so? Sui smacked his lips and said, So, Handsome, you can't blame me. When we reach a crowded place, you won't be able to show your face. You're too famous now. People will recognize you easily. Hearing this, Handsome Su immediately realized something. If they went to a crowded place, he would probably be forced into Suyi's arms again and couldn't be seen. In fact, Handsome Su was also very desperate. He also wanted to transform into human form. However, during the battle at the mine, he had killed an Origin Ancestor powerhouse with his final strike. The onlookers must have spread the news of that scene. In this way, once he appeared in the outside world, even if Sui had the art of disguise, he would definitely be seen through. Thinking of this, Handsome Su's face immediately turned bitter. At the side, Ji Hanua and Feng Qier couldn't help but cover their mouths and snicker. I'll think of a way later. Maybe I can't change Little Handsome's appearance, but there's a chance to change his characteristics and temperament. That way, he won't be afraid of being recognized, Feng Qier said. Really? Handsome Su's eyes lit up. Sui also looked at the girl beside him and was surprised. He didn't know that Feng Qier had such an ability. I don't know if it will work or not. It's just an idea. It depends on the situation. However, this method can only fool the eyes of ordinary people. Once you meet a true expert, you won't be able to hide it, Feng Qier said with a chuckle. Fine, fine, fine. As long as you don't have to hide all the time. Handsome Su was overjoyed. He landed on Feng Qi-er's shoulder and nodded his little head non-stop. "I'll try my best," Feng Qi-er said. Hearing her words, Su-yi was also very curious. Feng Qi-er had the Calamity Qi Poison Soul, which was a rare talent. Perhaps she really had some special means. "Let's find a place to try it later," Su-yi said. If he could change Handsome Su's temperament and make him look very different from the rumors, he would be very happy. The four of them continued to travel through the forest while chatting with each other. They were heading towards the extreme northwest of the Chaos Zone. It was very far from the Bawang sect. If they rushed there at full speed, it would take a lot of time. However, Su-yi was not in a hurry. It should not be easy for a new secret realm to be opened. Otherwise, with the means of the 3 first-rate forces, they would have been able to track it down by now. Besides, Su-yi also sent Ji Hanua back to the Xianjian sect. After leaving the Xianjian sect, it was time for them to embark on their journey. "Su-yi, I want to go with you." Ji Hanua looked at Su-yi and said softly. "You want to go too?" Su-yi was slightly stunned. However, he did not rush to agree or reject. Instead, he said, "Let's see what sect leader Ji has to say when we meet him. If he agrees and you really want to go, I'll bring you along." "Okay." Ji Hanua nodded vigorously. She was very satisfied with Su-yi's answer. Her mood could not help but improve. Just as the few of them were rushing, a young man's figure was shuttling through the barbaric demon forest at an extremely fast speed. Roar! The loud roars of beasts rose and fell one after another. A fishy smell filled the forest. While the young man was moving forward, he suddenly stopped and stood on the spot. His eyes were like that of an eagle's and they shone with an extremely sharp light. From the corner of his eyes, he saw a group of snow-white figures flying towards him from the sky. These figures were all powerful barbaric demon beasts. Heavenly frost-winged wolves, flying-type barbaric demon beasts. There are so many of them. The young man was dressed in black. His body was straight and his eyes were like lightning. However, his black clothes were twisted together and mottled like dried blood stains. However, his clothes were not damaged and there was only a small tear on his back. Looking at the large group of barbaric demon beasts flying towards him, the young man had no intention of dodging. Roar! In the sky, those barbaric demon beasts saw the young man in black robes below them. They could not help but let out a series of low growls and charged towards him even faster. These barbaric demon beasts were snow-white and looked like barbaric wolves. However, they had a pair of wings on their back. They could spread their wings and fly at an extremely fast speed. Although they could not be compared to those pure flying-type barbaric demon beasts, they were not to be underestimated. As expected of the barbaric demon forest, I have already met dozens of them along the way. Junior Marshal Uncle seemed to have passed through this place a few times. With my current strength, it should be easier for me to pass through this place and reach the Chaos region. Looking at the group of snow-white, heavenly frost-winged wolves, there were actually 17 to 18 of them. As he got closer, an icy aura rushed towards him. The leader of the pack, the Wolf King, should have reached the demon true realm. Since you guys are here to die, then I won't hold back. The young man's eyes narrowed. He retracted his aura and stood there without moving. He quietly waited for the heavenly frost-winged wolves to charge towards him. When he was surrounded by the group of barbaric demon beasts, the young man suddenly stomped his foot on the ground. Boom! A huge earthquake occurred in the surrounding forest, and the trees were trembling non-stop. Chapter 1244. Roar! As the black energy surged, the icy winged wolves howled. They could feel the destructive aura. This young man was so powerful that none of the savage beasts expected him to be so strong. Kill! At the same time, the young man let out a deep roar. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He stomped his feet on the ground and dashed out. With a point of his finger, a black light shot out and hit the head of a icy winged wolf in front of him. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded. The demon spirit realm icy winged wolf didn't even have time to react before its head was pierced. Blood splattered everywhere. This scene ignited the bloodlust of all the savage beasts. Every icy winged wolf's eyes turned red. Roar following the roar of a huge white wolf at the back of the pack, dozens of icy winged wolves charged out at the same time. Swish, every heavenly frost-winged wolf's body emitted a surging icy aura. Snowflakes danced in the surrounding space, and a dense white fog surged and spread out rapidly, enveloping the young man in the middle. "You're courting death." The young man's eyes were cold. His body was like a phantom as he shuttled through the pack of wolves. Swish, the young man moved his hands and dodged the attacks of several icy winged wolves. Then, he pointed his finger again. Pfff, another icy winged wolf fell to the ground, bleeding profusely. But soon, the blood on the ground was frozen by the boundless icy aura. Under the attack of the terrifying icy aura, a layer of white frost formed on the young man's body. But all of this couldn't slow him down at all. He continued to move around and pointed his finger again. Rays of light shot out and pierced through the bodies of the icy winged wolves again and again. Every single time, it was a fatal strike. In just a few breaths of time, 5 to 6 Empyrean frost-winged wolves had died. Outside the pack of wolves, the huge white wolf's eyes were dark. Seeing what was happening, it wanted to pounce forward and kill the young man. An icy beam of light shot out from its mouth, carrying with it the power to split mountains. It tore through space and arrived before the young man in an instant. However, it only saw that the human youth did not dodge. Instead, he struck out with his palm and fiercely collided with the icy light pillar. Boom! The light beam shattered, and fist-sized ice crystals scattered in all directions, like a mass of rocks piercing through the air. The surrounding icy winged wolves couldn't dodge in time and were grazed by the ice crystals, sustaining serious injuries. However, there wasn't even a trace of blood on the young man's fist. Such a scene caused the wolves to roar again and again, but they couldn't get close to the human. The leader of the pack was even more surprised. He knew that he had provoked a powerful human youth this time. A whoa! Another howl rang out, and the leader of the wolves immediately retreated, fleeing into the distance. The remaining wolves did not dare to stay any longer. One by one, they turned around and fled. Every icy winged wolf flapped their wings and flew up into the sky. Puff, 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 however, in this short period of time, another 3 glacial winged wolves were killed. The young man's figure stopped, and his eyes were deep as he looked at the remaining 10+ snow-white wolves that fled. The scarlet-red blood on his robe had already frozen. Only thinking of fleeing now? It's too late. Offending me, Situmuyang, you can only consider yourselves unlucky. The black-clothed young man stomped on the ground, then his figure rose into the air and chased after the pack of wolves. He was actually flying. This was an ability that only an Origin Void stage expert possessed. Most importantly, this young man's speed was even swifter than the icy winged wolves that were born with wings. When the pack of snow-white wolves ahead sensed all this, they couldn't help but howl. They were flustered, and all of them pushed their speed to the limit. Their wings were about to break from flapping. However, all of this was futile. The young man quickly closed in, and not long after, he finally caught up with the last icy winged wolf. A black earth attribute light was shot out by him, and it turned into a sharp spear. In an instant, it pierced through the icy winged wolf in midair. Blood splattered everywhere, and the wolf's corpse fell from the sky, smashing a tree branch. A whoa! The wolves were shocked, but there was nothing they could do. They could only focus on running for their lives. For a moment, a ferocious scene appeared in the sky. A human young man was flying in the air, and he was moving quickly in the sky. In front of him, close to 10 barbaric demon beasts were fleeing for their lives, but they were unable to shake off the young man. Moreover, as the young man got closer, the icy winged wolves were killed one after another. Such a scene was witnessed by many barbaric demon beasts in the forest. They couldn't help but shiver and hide. An origin void stage existence might not be able to move unhindered in the barbaric demon forest, but compared to most barbaric demon beasts, they were existences that couldn't be provoked. New chapter, section J, upper Y/HMN. Such a young man, who would have thought that he was not even 17 years old. It was really shocking. If Sui was here, his jaw would definitely drop, because he was very familiar with this young man. He was an old acquaintance who had a good relationship with him, the son of the Xinjiang Gate's gate master, Situ Muyang. After obtaining Situ Liuyun's approval, Situ Muyang finally set off on his journey. He left the Xinjiang Gate and entered the barbaric demon forest. He wanted to go to the Chaos region to look for Sui. Originally, the Xinjiang Gate wanted to send experts to go with him, but they were rejected by Situ Muyang. Other than that, Jian Wuk, Ryugan River, Zhang Qing and the others also wanted to go with him when they heard the news. However, they were all glared at by the elders of the Xinjiang Gate. The reason used by the elders was very simple. Situ Muyang has already reached the origin void realm. Even Naren Ryu of the Sacred Mountain is far inferior to such talent. It's not impossible for you to go to the Chaos region. If you break through to the origin void realm now, I'll let you go immediately. Such words caused all the disciples who wanted to go to the Chaos region to shrink their neck. What kind of joke was this? All of them had good talent and the origin void realm was just around the corner. However, they were unable to break through immediately. Jian Wuk was almost there, but he was still a bit lacking. Situ Muyang was a freak, just like Sui. He brought everyone a blow. However, at the same time, the disciples of the Xinjiang Gate also secretly vowed to cultivate diligently. They could not be left too far behind by these two freaks. Situ Muyang can't even compare to Naren Ryu. I really don't know how he cultivates. Although the Gate Master is powerful, when he was young, his talent shouldn't be so freakish, right? Such questions filled the hearts of many people in the Xinjiang Gate. However, they could not find an answer. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.